Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. I would play the NLP Power International Anthem. Unfortunately, YouTube would ding me for copyright infringement, so you'll just have to imagine Hooked on a Feeling playing very loudly in your head, thinking victorious thoughts, and getting ready to party, because it is time for face reading for fun and profit, how to discover how to read anyone's face and understand their personality, temperament, and all that other good stuff. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anyone else looked online for a vest and realized they can't pull it off? You guys are funny. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on tonight's webinar. Today's topic is how to read anyone instantly, face reading for fun and profit. If you stick with me tonight, I'm going to share with you some of the most powerful secrets for how to understand how people think, feel, and behave, how they make decisions, and where they hide things. What are they like when nobody's looking? What are they like when people are watching? I'm going to show you and share with you how to uncover and unlock people's hidden traumas, how to find out what kind of, maybe not exactly what the trauma was, but when it happened, what it had to do with. And if you're a therapy person, if you're someone who works a lot in the therapeutic world, you'll be able to use these tools to help your clients and your family to become more emotionally happy and healthy. If you'd like to learn how to read people's repressed emotions, so you know what buttons to push, what buttons to stay away from, you'll want to spend a little bit more time on this webinar. If you'd like to know how to influence and persuade people in the most efficient way possible, pay very close attention to a lot of the information in this webinar, because it's going to give you some very powerful levers that you can begin to work with. And for those of you who are looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, if you'd like to learn how to measure sexual and romantic compatibility, there's going to be some very powerful radioactive nuggets of information on this program that you're going to want to stick with. So first and foremost, before I get into what I lovingly call the Dr. David Dog and Pony Show, let's go over some basic ground rules for the webinar. So first and foremost, I love you all, and I'm glad you're all here, and I love questions. I absolutely love questions. The problem with questions many times is that the questions often take us off the given track that I've set for us. So if you're used to if this is your first time with us and you're used to a 90-minute webinar where the guy gets on or the lady gets on and they say, tease, 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 buy my stuff, tease, 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 ask me questions, tease, 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 buy my stuff, you're probably going to be disappointed. Our particular webinars tend to be very, very content heavy. They're focused on delivering very powerful, very practical, actionable things that you can take out into the world and use right away. The best part about the technologies that we teach here at Planet David is that you don't have to believe any of it. All we ask is that you have an open mind, take the information out into the world, do the drills and get the skills before you decide to take any of the offers that we're going to be sharing with you. And we have an offer with every webinar that we do. We line out a special class that allows you to come away with the powerful, actionable skills that you came to learn, and then showing you how to take the next step. So first and foremost, if this is the scope of everything that there is to learn, we have time for this, even with a 3 or 4 hour webinar, which is what we usually run, which is, again, if you're used to a 90-minute webinar where you're in, you get pitched, you buy it or you don't, and you move on. That's not how this is going to work today. What we're going to do is for the first 60 to about 75 minutes, we're going to deliver as much powerful, real world proven, actionable content that you can take out into the world and use right away. Then what we're going to do is we put together a special training upgrade for you. In other words, if you like what you learned in this webinar, you want to take it further, you want to become a master of this and apply it in every aspect of your life, we're going to share with you some ways that you can do that. That takes you about 20 to 30 minutes. After that, we're going to circle back to the foundations that we laid at the beginning of today's webinar. And we're going to continue to teach. We're going to build on what we taught you in the first half of the webinar. We're going to drill down on specific areas of face reading and how it applies to personality, temperament, health, wealth, happiness, trauma, what have you. But that drill down will be based on the questions that I'm going to ask you to answer as we move through the formal presentation. So for the first half hour or so, maybe not quite a half hour, I have a set presentation, and then I'm going to jump off and I'm going to ask you, what is it you want to learn about? What do you want me to target this training for you for? We're going to teach that till about we hit the 60 or 75 minute mark. We're going to do our offer. We're going to circle back, and we're going to continue to teach. and we'll teach. And we usually go about 3 to 5 hours, not 3. I've had webinars as long as 6 hours, but usually we right around the 3 hour, 3.5 hour mark is right about most people's saturation point. If you've blocked out the traditional 90 minutes for this webinar and you got to jump off, that's fine. You'll miss out on a lot of the fast action bonuses in the offer that we're going to be sharing, but you'll still be able to watch the replay and get all the great information that we're going to share with you. So like I said, if this is the scope of all the information we could be teaching you, we have time for this much. I promise to take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I'll show you where to go to take your stuff to your skills to the next level if that's where you want to go. Does that sound like a fair trade? If that sounds like a fair trade, type it in the chat so I can see that you're with me on this. Okay, perfect. Now, once again, for those of you joining us on YouTube, we are streaming this live to our YouTube channel. There is about a 60 to 90 second delay, depends on YouTube or internet traffic, between when I answer something or I say something on the webinar versus when it actually shows up in the YouTube stream. So a couple of things. I love questions. In fact, I am fanatical about questions. I often get some negative comments about my tendency to answer everybody's questions. So we're going to handle questions in a very special way. For those of you who are new to Planet David, type in the chat, first time, your name and where you're checking in from. Go ahead and type that in the chat because I have some special information for you. For those of you who've been bebopping around Planet David for a while, who've been using our materials and have actually gotten a result using them, type veteran in the chat and where you used it. And there's a reason for that. You see, when you ask me a question, you expect me to say, buy my stuff is awesome, it'll work for you. You expect me to say that. So I'm not going to say that, okay? I'm going to ask the people who have used this material that is relevant to your question to answer you in the chat, because you expect me to say my stuff is the best, okay? However, I want you to talk to people who've actually used the material in the context that you're asking about, because sometimes the questions fly by so fast that I don't see them, right? So if you do have a question, please post it, okay? And there's a reason for that. If I see it and it's relevant to the part of the webinar that we're in, I'll answer it right then and there. If it's not relevant, I may skip it, but one of my other, older, more veteran students may see it and answer it for you. If you're still not satisfied and you want me to answer your question directly, here's what you do next. As soon as I end the feed for this YouTube live stream, YouTube is going to take this video, it's going to edit it. Now, I had the stream running for about 30 or 40 minutes, so you got to skip through the first 30 or 40 minutes. But here's what I want you to do. When this stream goes live on YouTube, in the comments section of this webinar, retype your question, because I go back after every single webinar, I read every question and I answer them. Okay, so if you want an answer directly from me, I promise you that if you take the time to type your answers in the comment section when this video goes live on YouTube, I will do my best to answer your question. If I have an answer, I'll give it to you. If I don't, I will point you in the direction where I think the best answer to your question lies. Does that sound like a fair trade? If it sounds like a fair trade, please type fair trade, if that's fair, in the classroom or in the chat rooms for me. Okay, this is an interactive webinar. I need to know you're with me. I need to know you're cool with the things I'm sharing with you. Okay, excellent. Perfect. Will you contact us ahead of time? I don't know what that means, but that's okay. All right, excellent. So everybody seems to be with me. So first and foremost, I'm going to start with my normal disclaimer, then I'm going to start the official Dr. David Dog and Pony show, as I like to call it. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, if my choice in music when I do play it offends you, this is probably not the best use of your next 3 hours, okay? If this is the scope of everything there is to learn, we have time to this. I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I will show you how to take your skills to the next level. If that's a fair trade for you, stay on, stay with us to the end of the webinar, because there's going to be some fast action, one-time only bonuses that are super cool. Some of the other bonuses that we'll be talking about will have a little bit of a longer expiration date, but some, they go away the minute I log off the webinar. So you're going to want to stay till the end. So that being said, couple of real quick ones. This means yes. This means no. There will be a test. Right. Normally, I would have you raise your hands if you agree or disagree or whatever. So I can't do that. But normally, what I would say, this means I know the answer. This means I don't. This means, oh shit, I hope he doesn't call on me next. And yes, for those of you wondering, this is a green screen behind me, but it is an actual picture of my bookshelf downstairs. So once we get the garage refitted and all the lighting and the air conditioning is set up, I'll be streaming once again from my home studio. That being said, let's go ahead and without further ado, jump into what I lovingly call the Dr. David Dog and Pony Show, and let's explore face reading for fun and profit. Okay, so welcome aboard. This is, so you might be asking after all that stuff, who the hell is Dr. David and why should I care? Well, first and foremost, I am in fact a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine. I've been a practicing acupuncturist with a clinic in Solana Beach for the last 15 years. I started practicing in actually closer to 16 years, 2005. Where my specialty clinically is treating physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotion. A lot of the material that I'm going to be sharing with you is actually derived from some of the more diagnostic aspects of Chinese medicine. I lovingly call face reading Chinese vibrational psychotherapy because it's one of the few ways that the Chinese have of directly interacting through a talking format for helping people to type personalities, overcome limiting beliefs, things of that nature. So I graduated from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine with a doctorate in Chinese acupuncture, a doctor of acupuncture in Chinese medicine. In 2020, I was named the #1 NLP Trainer of the Year by globalgurus.org. I've been in the top 2 NLP training positions with that particular organization for the last 5 years, actually. I think from 2016, 2017 up to now, I've been either had the #1 or #2 slot. I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, everything from how to reprogram the subconscious mind, how to meet and attract people, how to win sales and negotiation tactics, how to change beliefs during normal conversation, advanced vibrational and law of attraction techniques. We've created some very powerful cutting edge programs that are at the forefront of most personal change work today. I'm very proud of those things. So an interesting side effect of that was this is a letter from globalgurus.org. And this is, it says, Dr. David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best program in the world for neuro-linguistic programming. You can see that here. If you click this little link, you'll see here that there's actually a little screenshot where we are actually the #1 NLP training program in there, which is funny to me because I never promoted Killer Influence as an NLP program. It's pretty interesting that they classified it that way because Killer Influence is actually a very integrative system. It is all about human influence, everything from face reading and cold reading all the way down to advanced hypnotic language patterns, lie detection, and things of that nature. So if you're interested in stuff like that, some of what I'm going to be teaching you in today's webinar is actually found in this course. Other things come from other sources, but I just wanted to share that with you just for your edification. Also, for those of you who don't know, I am a lifelong martial artist. I have a 10th degree black belt in Okinawan karate. Ryukyu Kempo specifically. I have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, a 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo Ryu, a 1st degree black belt in Fanku Jiu-Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in combat Sistema, which I think as far as martial arts that a hypnotist or a neurolinguistic programmer should study, I think Sistema offers the greatest amount of mind-body interventions of all the martial arts I've studied. I've studied a lot. So I really, really have a tremendous respect for Sistema. I'm also an instructor in Cinco Mano Eskrima and a basic instructor in Madranis. I like to make a joke that I have more energy credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I am in fact a Reiki master. I've been a Reiki master teacher since before Reiki was cool. I'm an advanced pranic healer and an advanced pranic psychotherapist, advanced DNA theta healer. I'm certified in the Bengston energy healing system, which is one of the most powerful cross-contextual energy transformation systems I've ever seen. I am an avid practitioner of many different forms of Qigong, and I teach those in my vibrational influence classes. And you may be asking, David, okay, now that you've tried to compensate for all the things that we might be trying to compensate for, because that's usually what happens, is that whenever somebody reads that syllabi, they say, well, David's either the first level bullshit artist or he's trying to compensate for something. But the truth is that all of these particular disciplines, while they seem to be very, very different, they all have something in common. And that commonality is what we call pattern recognition. You see, everything human beings do has a structure and a pattern that repeats. They repeat at different levels of human experience. And once you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and becoming aware of these patterns, you can look at a person's face and see the patterns of their emotion. You can read the patterns of their thoughts and hear the patterns of their thoughts in the word choices that they use and the structure of their language. You can intuit from the way they move their body certain patterns and what those patterns of movement equate to emotionally and cognitively. And that's what you're going to be exposed to in this training, is this concept of pattern recognition of the psycho-emotional health and physiological health of a human being, but it's based on understanding patterns. So what does all these things have to do with reading faces? Pretty much everything. So is this class for you? Let me ask you this. Okay, this class is for you if you can answer yes to any of these questions. If you would like to learn how to become more attractive to the opposite sex, maybe even know how to say the right thing for them to find you charming, fascinating, or irresistible, you're probably in the right place. If you'd like to locate and banish fear and insecurity from your life, radiate confidence and more assertiveness because you understand people better, this is probably a good place for you to be. If you'd like to have the ability to read people and understand them in such a way that it allows you to make more money from your job or book more clients for your business or get that raise or promotion you know you deserve, you're in the right place. If you would like to learn how to protect yourself from manipulators and easily handle difficult people, if you'd like to be able to actually detect difficult people or potentially difficult people before they even open their mouth, you might want to stay on till the end of the webinar because you're going to learn some really, really powerful, pretty consistent and useful things. If you'd like to know how to look at somebody and know exactly how to have them thinking, feeling, and acting the way you want so that they naturally want to follow your lead, stay on to the end of the webinar. If any of these things sound good to you, type "that's for me" in the chat. And again, as I go through these, if you hear anything else that resonates with you, type "that's for me." I want that in the chat. If you'd like to program yourself to remove blocks to your success, create massive financial abundance, and maybe even have more than enough money to buy the things you want and then some, stay on, because there's some certain facial traits that if you learn how to cultivate them or modify them, you can actually change how your brain and your body relates to the concept of wealth and prosperity. If you'd like to be able to nail 2 or 3 job interviews on the spot, 2 out of 3 job interviews, and have them salivating to hire you because you can actually take a snapshot of what's going on inside a person's mind, knowing what kind of qualities and characteristics and attributes they are most likely to gravitate to and recognize and want, this is going to be a really, really good webinar for you to be on. If you'd like to be able to surround yourself with lots of new and trustworthy and loyal friends, pay attention to some of the things that we're going to share with you on this webinar, right? If you'd like to be able to have people hanging on your every word, maybe even find you the most fascinating person in the room, even if you have zero understanding of weird things like language patterns or hypnosis or echo technique or 3 magic questions, if you'd like to have lines of people, crowds of people flocking to you at social events or even networking events, you're probably going to want to stay on to the end of this webinar, because there's a treasure trove of information that will dramatically change your social life, your professional life, and your personal life. If you typed yes for any of this, type "I want that," let's get started in the chat, and we will jump in head first. Cool. Excellent. Very good. All right, let me go ahead and go back to sharing my screen. All right, so first and foremost, this whole idea of face reading comes from Chinese medicine. And I could show you a picture really quick, but we're going to get off track. So if you stay on to the end of the webinar, this is what I promise you'll take home, okay? Oh, you're already home, but you'll take with you and you can use. If you stay until the end, I will share with you the most powerful way to read and understand yourself and anyone you meet. This is truly, truly powerful. It has changed my life. It has changed my life almost as much as learning neurolinguistic programming and handwriting analysis, which I found a lot of correlations between facial reading and handwriting analysis, which is pretty cool. I'm going to teach you how to understand personality and temperament, how to look at a person's trauma history and see it written plainly on their face, how people make decisions, what they're like in private, what they're like in public. I'm going to teach you a quick and easy way to measure and understand sexual and romantic compatibility based on the shapes and architecture of a person's face. We're going to show you how to read their personality and temperament through certain facial markings and things of that nature. And finally, I'm going to teach you in no uncertain terms how to become a master of people reading and how to use those skills to influence people to believe what you say, do what you want, and really kind of lubricate, for lack of a better word, all of your interactions with people. You'll come away from this webinar with an understanding of how to look at a person and see what's really going on with them. And you can make better decisions about how to use your tools of influence based on that knowledge. If that sounds cool, let's get going. Okay, so here's what I'd like to know. This is where we begin to kind of target and drill down on the areas of application. See, every class is a little bit different. One class, they want to do business applications. One class, they want to do sexual and romantic applications. Some people want to do trauma work. I'm curious, for my edification, type this in the chat for me. What is it that you want to learn about today? What is your biggest question regarding how to read and understand people that you would like the answer to? In other words, if you came away from this webinar with no other information but that one or two things, what would they be? Please type those in the chat so I can understand you better, because I want you to come away with what you came for. Health. Okay. How to read people for business. Okay, excellent. Avoid toxic people online. How to incorporate this in my live Zoom sessions. Okay, excellent. Well, I might know something about that, Dina. Right? Trauma work, David says on YouTube. Wealth. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of people are coming back to trauma. Martha's just curious. Cool. Read the intent of the person. Okay. Carl Sumner says, working as a hypnotherapist, fast reading of new clients. Oh, you're going to get a treasure trove, Carl. You're going to get them. You're going to be like drinking from a fire hose. Seeing the true BS and identifying blind spots and red flags. Okay. Any of our other health, strength, and longevity. Stephanie Johnson over on YouTube says trauma in business. Very good. Self-consciousness. That Merrickville NSW self-consciousness is going to be implicit throughout this entire program. Seeing the true BS. Excellent. Okay. I see where this is going, and I really, really like your points. Anything Kim says, anything I share is good. She's in the category I like. I'll have what she's having. If you're ever detecting interest, how to master ourselves in a more subtle way. Excellent. All right. So let's jump in. Okay. So the first thing let me jump off my screen share really quick. Fast reading. Okay. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the big picture. You see, when I teach people human influence, one of the problems is there's two ways to keep people stuck. Okay, two ways to keep people stuck. You either don't give them enough information or you give them way too much. So when I started developing my systems, and I didn't develop them to teach to the public, I grew up in a very hostile, traumatic environment. I was a very sensitive child. My parents didn't teach me how to interact with people. In fact, my dad was a little bit on the self-centered side, if is a nice way to say it without using the label. And so I really wasn't given the opportunity to develop really good social skills. My hygiene was I was bigger around than I was tall. You know, if I was bullied, I was lied to, I was desperate to have people like me. And so many times I would find myself being manipulated and often scapegoated as a result of wanting to trust people far beyond where I should have. And I remember very, very vividly standing in my room at around 11 or 12 years old saying, this has got to change. God grant me wisdom. Be careful what you ask for, because the universe has a bizarre way of delivering that. Needless to say, it launched a journey for me, a journey where I had problems that I wanted to solve. I had answers, and I searched for years and years and years. So everything I'm about to share with you, I want you to understand first and foremost, as mercenary as it sounds, I didn't develop it for you. I developed it for me because I had areas of my life where I was running into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. Everywhere I go was pain, sadness, rejection, or loneliness. And I had to find a way to get through that. I had to find a way to beat the odds, honestly. And so that's where this is coming from. Now, I found out as I went through these processes and I started sharing some of these technologies that a lot of people had the same thing. A lot of people had the same issues, the same challenges growing up. And by taking some of the things I had discovered, they were able to get the same results. And so that's my goal, is for you to come away from this with actionable things that you can do. So the first thing that I want to share with you, and this is what I had to do for me, is I had to be able to say, okay, when I look at somebody, what's easy? In other words, what's the easiest, most obvious things that I can detect about a person? Now, this goes for NLP, this goes for conversational hypnosis, this goes for rapport skills, and it's especially true with face reading, because you can drill down to minutia after minutia after minutia, but that's not useful for people. What's useful for people are things that you can just take out into the world and put to use right away. So we start with things that are safe, reliable, and easy to see from far away. Safe, reliable, easy to see from far away, and most importantly, useful. Would it be useful to be able to look at somebody and know how they make decisions? If you think that's a useful thing to know, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay. If you think it would be useful to know what kind of a person or what kind of a human being a person is in their private life, when nobody's looking, when the camera's off, when it's just a few intimate friends, who are they really behind their masks? Type yes in the chat. If you'd like to be able to know how to talk to somebody in such a way that the face that they show the world gets reinforced and indulges in the behaviors that you would like them to act on, type yes, I want to know that in the chat, because those are the first things you're going to learn. Okay, they're easy to see. You just got to know what to look for. Okay, and the best part is you can do it safely. In other words, I can be across the room, I can look at somebody's face, and I can know instantly, are they a thinker? Are they a feeler? Are they a hands-on person? Are they social? What are they like in private versus what they're like in public? That's what we're going to learn first. Does that sound cool? Okay, very good. Now, before we jump into that, I do need to make one final distinction. I know it sounds like I'm teasing, but there is, in my world, I make some very, very powerful distinctions between the Chinese facial diagnosis system, which is what you're learning today, versus things like micro expressions. My good friend Chase Hughes, who I'll be co-teaching an event with in September, has a lot of people reading skills. So we call them, they're both forms of profiling. But there's I divide things into what I call active profiling and passive profiling. You can think of active profiling as the act of watching how the face changes in the moment. Micro expressions, forward leans, backward leans, ventral tilts, things of that nature. These are things that manifest in the moment as a person's emotional states and fluctuations change. Right? To do active profiling, you have to have a much greater sense of in-time awareness, or what NLP likes to call uptime awareness. What you're going to be learning is the complement to active profile. We call it passive profiling. These are the markings that manifest over time through repeated experiences of a similar nature. Repeated sadness, repeated joy, repeated bitterness. These are, think of it as if you want to contrast face reading versus like micro expressions. The face reading system you're about to learn is the result of a lifetime of micro expressions. Does that make sense? So you will be able to know in a very, very significant way, a very, very consistent way, what this person is like over time, right? Active profiling tells you what a person is doing in the moment. So they complement each other very, very well. But I want to be very, very clear. I also teach the active profiling part. We have courses on that, but this is about passive profiling, looking at somebody and knowing what they're going to do over time consistently, not what they're doing in the moment. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, type it in the chat. Okay. All right. So let's talk about decisions, shall we? So when we look at the face, here's the first thing I want us to drill down on. There are 3 zones to the face. Let me make this so. Can everybody see this okay? This is our first. And I want you to understand that when you look at the 3 zones of the face, the upper zone, which is measured roughly from just about the eyebrow line. And my teacher says to measure from the eyebrow to the hairline. Or actually, that's where I measure. But she likes to measure from the hairline to the top of the head. I think that tends to give us a little bit. I'm going to let you play with that. But anyway, what we're looking at, when you see someone whose forehead is much bigger than the rest of the zones, right? We have a kind of a shape like this. You have someone who's very, very data driven. Okay, one of my good friends and partners with Jet Webinar is a guy by the name of Brandon Burr. And when you ask Brandon a question, he always answers you with a spreadsheet. So people with very large foreheads, very high foreheads, very large upper zone are very mental. They're very cognitive, and so they will gravitate to questions or presentations that are very data driven. They're going to want to see the data. When you ask them if they want something, or if they want to buy something, they're going to ask for the data, the evidence that supports what you're saying. Okay. Now, the middle zone of your body, or the middle zone of your face rather, is related to practical pursuits. So when you get somebody who has very prominent cheekbones, somebody who has huge forehead here, I speak in spreadsheets. Yes, it's very common. In fact, here's a little challenge for you. How many of you live near a campus where a lot of tech companies are? Go ahead and type that in the chat, just for fun. Here's a little experiment. One of my trainers, one of my students did this just to prove me right or wrong. Find a place where people who are number crunchers, lots of accountants, lots of IT people. Like I live in San Diego, so I have like Qualcomm and I have all these things. If you live in San Fran or Silicon Valley, this is very easy for you to do. Go to a place where lots of brainiac type people hang out. Okay, people who are engaged in very cognitive things, and hang out in the food court during lunch hour and count the foreheads. Count the foreheads and look at the facial proportions and notice the pattern. What's most common? Now, the next part of this, no, we're not talking about bumps on the head, Alan. We're talking about the size of the head, okay? In relation, the size of the upper zone of the head versus proportions to the lower zones, okay? Now, next thing I want you to do is I want you to go to a fitness center, MMA gym, whatever. And I want you to go in and I want you to look at jaws. Look how big and strong the jaws are. Look at how prominent the bony ridge right at this line tends to be in the vast majority of the people there. These people have a definitive physiognomy based on their hormones, and there's a psychology that goes with that, okay? Don't believe me, go out into the world and look. And that doesn't mean that people with huge jaws are stupid. Doesn't mean that at all. Has nothing to do with intelligence. Has everything to do with cognitive preference or decision preference. And I'm going to show you why this is important in just a moment. But let's go back to the picture and understand this particular aspect of reading people's decision-making strategies. Would it be important, just as an aside really quick, do you think it would be useful to know how people make decisions so that you can give them the information they need in the order and sequence that they need to make it in order to get to make the decision that you want them to make? Would that be useful out in life? Well, that's exactly what you're learning. When you see someone with this super high data-driven forehead, don't lead with practical applications. Or if you do, you better be damn prepared to show them the data. Okay? They want to know the data that supports the conclusion that you're making. So again, this is going to be super, super important, right? Because when you look at these 3 zones, what you're going to be getting is a code. It's a sequence of first, second, third, or first, second, third, or first, second, third. You need all of the data. You need to give them all the data. But if you look at the relative size proportions of one zone to the next, you know what to present first, what to present second, what to present third, and if necessary, what to emphasize in this particular interaction. Would this cause an indirect or subconscious prejudice? No, because it's going to be conscious, right? But if you don't know about this thing, the formations that I'm sharing with you are already hardwired into you. You already get subconscious prejudices about people. Because they're subconscious, you don't pay attention to them. So what happens now is you're becoming a profiler. And again, if the idea of profiling people isn't something that you feel is something that should happen or should be done, you probably shouldn't be on this webinar, right? Remember that it is impossible for a human being not to have unconscious or subconscious prejudices, okay? It's more useful to make those subconscious inferences or filters educated, right? And that's why I'm asking you not to believe me when I tell you these things. I want you to go out into the world and test it. It's either going to work for you or it's not. The patterns are either going to manifest for you or they're not, right? You don't have to believe it, but it is important that you actually do the drills if you want the skills. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Okay. Excellent. So let's go back to this, because this is, again, when I first saw this chart, and there was hours, hundreds of thousands of hours of information, I had to distill this down to something that was immediately useful. So let me see, okay, make sure. So upper level zone, and the Chinese call this the heaven zone. We don't need to worry about that. This is not a class on Chinese medicine, although if you want to learn that, I have classes for that. The middle zone, which is about the eyebrow line to just below the base of the nose. This is known as the pragmatic zone. People with a larger zone here are very, very, what's this going to do for me? How can I use it? Kind of an attitude, okay? I usually see, and this is a pattern I'm starting to see, that many times either the upper zone or the lower zone will be very, very close in size to the pragmatic zone. So what that leads me to believe is that everybody has a pragmatic side, but they're going to get to the pragmatism based on a gut feeling, an instinctive or emotional drive, or they're going to go there based on data. Now, every now and then you see someone with a massive practical zone, and you know right then and there that these people want to know, okay, I don't care about the data. What's this going to do for me? Why should I listen to you? Right? How's this going to help me get more dates? How's this going to help me make more money? How's this going to help me get along with my spouse better? How's this going to help me get my children to be more connected to me, or to do what and take out the trash? So when you see these big middle zones, remember, you got to lead with the practical, pragmatic benefits. These people, by the way, also tend to be a little bit more on the social side. A little bit more on the social side. Why? Because they're more in the moment. Okay. People with a much larger lower zone, when this zone here, which is from the base of the nose to the tip of the chin, these people are more gut driven. Okay. These people follow their gut, literally follow their gut. They tend to be more emotional, which means that doesn't mean that someone who's data driven can't be emotional. Although they tend to be a little bit more on the dissociated side. They tend to be a little bit more aloof. Jimmy says, is there anthropometric measurements to distinguish the size of the features? The Chinese did not use standard inches or centimeters like we're used. They use what they call a body inch. And so one of the big benchmarks that the Chinese use when measuring facial features is in proportion to each other. So again, we're starting with the basics, right? I'm sorry, let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so again, so you have these three zones, and what are the relative proportions or sizes here? Now this is, when you look at these three, okay? When you look at these three, you're going to get a code or a sequence, okay? If we assign zone 1, 2, and 3 to what they are, you may get someone who's data-driven, then very practical, and then and then they get a gut feeling that it's right for them and they go for it. Some people, you present to them and they get a gut feeling, they look at the data, and then they want to know how it's going to help them, right? Some people are going to say, well, what's this going to do for me? Show me the data that supports it. I like that. Let's go ahead and do it. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, go ahead and type that in the chat. And FYI, there is some correlation between some of these traits and Myers-Briggs. In fact, my teacher, Lillian Bridges, who is the world's leading authority on Chinese facial diagnosis and Chinese medicine, can actually look at your face and tell you with a high degree of certainty your Myers-Briggs profile. I'm not quite that good yet, but I can start to interpret, I can start to extrapolate on certain Myers-Briggs personality traits from looking at the combinations of these particular things. So is this useful? Would the ability to know how people make decisions change the way you do things in any way? Type in the chat how that would change what you're doing. Yep. Okay. Is this useful? Perfect. All right. So this was the first radioactive nugget that I discovered when I started going through the face reading. Okay. The next one to me was not quite as significant on the surface, but when I started really thinking about it and I started studying a lot with Chase and some of the other body language experts out there, I started to realize why this is important. The next piece is, would it be useful? Would it be useful to be able to look at someone and peel back their social masks? In other words, to look at somebody and know what kind of a person they are in public, and then to look at them slightly differently and know what kind of a person they are in private, when nobody's looking, when the world isn't watching. Would that be useful? Okay. This next piece is an amplifier to everything that's going to come later. Okay. This on the surface at first doesn't seem like it's quite as useful as the decision-making process. But when you factor this next piece in with what comes after it, it becomes, for those of you who are therapists, managing teams, hiring people, this is going to be massive. Okay. Changed everything about how I deal with people. And this is about public versus private personas. When you look at a person's face, and by the way, this is one of the few places where there's no gender specificity from the Chinese medical perspective. In certain aspects of Chinese medicine, it's different for men and women. This is one of the few places where these attributes are universal. So this is going to be your right. This is going to be your left. Okay. Now, most people are right eye dominant. What does that mean when we're looking at a face? It means that we tend to pay most attention to what we see through our right eye. And because we tend to project what we do on the inside with what we do on the outside, when we look at a person, we tend to look at their right side first. So in other words, I will literally look through my right eye at the right side of a person's face. That's going to give me their public face. It's going to give me their public face, the face that they want to show the world. Okay? Are you with me so far? Okay, perfect. If I want to know who they are in private, when the lights are out, when the curtains are drawn, when nobody's watching or they think they're alone, I need to get my left eye in the game. So I need to take my left eye and look at the left side of their face. Okay? And I actually have it written over here, but it's more dynamic to watch me do it. Okay? So are we cool so far? Public face, right. Private face, left. This is true if you're male or female. Okay. I don't know. I was told, again, here's what I would do, because JD's asking some very good questions. If they're left, actually, it wouldn't be if they're left eye dominant. It is if you're right eye dominant. The hemispheric dominance in terms of right-handed or left-handedness does not seem to play a role in the reading of a person's face. This is based on the reader, or the person doing the reading, not the person being read. So if you're using this process to read people, why is the private side of the face more attractive than the public side? I wouldn't say that it's all that sounds like a generalization. I wouldn't say that's always true. In fact, what I've seen many times is this exactly the inverse, is that the private side, especially if there's someone who's had a lot of emotional traumas and private emotional suffering, their left side tends to be more lined and marked than their right side. Now, we'll get to that in just a minute. But are we clear on right versus being public, left being private? Are we clear with that? Perfect. Okay. Now, how do we use this? Okay. Well, this is going to become far more useful in the next segment. But let's look at this. When we look at the markings of a person's face, we're looking for asymmetry. In case you weren't aware, most people's faces are not symmetrical. However, the common standard of beauty in the industry is that the more facial symmetry you have, the more beautiful we tend to view that face. But when, as a face reader, we are looking for predominance of features and facial asymmetry. So one of the first things that we want to look at on right versus left are the eyes. We want to know which eye is larger, which is more closed. Are the cheekbones or the markings on the cheek deeper or more prominent or longer on the right side versus the left side, or the left side versus the right side? Is the mouth or the eyes upturned or downturned? Are they more upturned or downturned on the right side or the left side? The longer and deeper the markings on the face, the more intense the emotion, the emotional reservoir is, the more predominant and more often those emotions have been experienced. And generally speaking, the deeper and more powerful the emotional charge tends to be. Jimmy says, I have a beard and sunglasses most of the time. Could this still work? Absolutely. You just have to look at different things. You just have to look at different things. Beards tend to amplify the traits they cover, okay, because it actually adds more energy to the area. So unconscious. So one of the things that, for those of you who are therapists, this is something that I teach in my hypnotherapy and my NLP classes. And this is called the dynamics of the unconscious response. Okay. Remember that the unconscious mind always answers first. It always answers honestly. It always feels like you're making it up. You almost always have an urge to edit what just came up. It's never loud and it's never linear. Now, for those of you, more on this can be found in my my Identity by Design real world hypnosis course, as well as my hypnosis real world trauma resolution courses, where we go deep dive into these 6 characteristics and why they're important for every therapist to know. Okay. And if you understand this, you can dramatically resolve the resistance to any session that you do. Okay. So these are the things that we want to look at when we're evaluating public versus private. Now, when would this be useful? When would this be useful? Just so I understand you better, go ahead and type in the chat when you think having this information or knowing this information would be useful. Type it in the chat for me. Dee Dee on YouTube is asking, does a chin that's not symmetrical mean anything? Absolutely. Everything means something. Everything means something. The question is, you know, how much bandwidth do you have to process these things? Jimmy J says every day and everything. Yes. Okay. Now here's what I have discovered based on the teachings of my teacher, based on some of the things I've learned from my good friend Chase. You see, when you're an influencer, you are in the business of giving permission to people. Permission to be something or someone they wouldn't normally be in a given context or circumstance. How does this apply to face reading? Very simple. Most people in the business world are operating from here, from their right eye, from their right side face, or their public persona. In other words, the one thing you do not want to do in most cases, in most business settings, is peel back their social mask and unlock their private side. You're going to elicit defensiveness. You're going, unless you're doing it strategically, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So when you influence people and you're in a business or professional setting, you want to do things that cause them to associate into the positive aspects of that persona, the public persona, and dissociate from the negative things in that public persona, okay? So we would talk about things that cause them to take on an identity that is positive, that they want to be more like. We would talk about the things we hate in people who have the opposite. But we want to target it specifically to their public face. Now, if you come to our Secrets of Human Influence training, we'll talk about the emotional bonding checklist, where you systematically start on the public side and drill down into their private side, the emotional drivers that they want to satisfy and fulfill. But that's the only context where this would be useful for you, okay? And it's an important one. But as a rule, when you start to look at someone's face and you unpack it, once you have a profile for their public face, you now know how to target your influence, how to target your flattery, how to target your comments or criticisms, how to frame the things you say to magnify and amplify this persona. But let's say you want to create intimacy with people. You want to create vulnerability. You want people to open themselves up and become more intimately suggestible. Now you want to talk to their private face. And you want to take the same approach. You want to talk about the things that cause them to trust, to open up, and you'll see facial markings actually change as they cycle through these, different emotions, okay? So left side is who they are when they're off duty. And so this is going to give you an indication of what they're going to be like 2 or 3 months into the relationship. When they've become intimate with you, they've become comfortable with you, they stop putting up the defense mechanisms. This is the person that's going to emerge, right? So if you understand how to read the difference between somebody on their best behavior and somebody whose guard is down, would that be useful? Okay. So this could save you a lot of time and frustration, couldn't it? Is that you? Again, I'm going to keep asking because a lot of people are saying, well, why doesn't he just get to the point? This is the point. These are, by the way, you notice that these are not actually small things, are they? It's very, very easy to divide a person's face into right side and left side, isn't it? Right? You can see that from across the room, can't you? Neil Calmetto says, screen out the Looney Tunes. Yeah. It's their left-handed side. It's the target's left side, the target's right side. Okay, it's always true left and true right. Okay. Yeah. In case I wasn't clear, if the subject raises their right hand, that's their public face. The subject raises their left hand, that is their private face. It does not change. If as you're out there testing and training in these particular mechanics, you start to see a pattern that indicates a difference from what I'm teaching, let me know. Okay. Again, I'm not asking you to believe everything I'm teaching you. I'm asking you to take the information, apply it to yourself, and then apply it to other people, to humans in their normal habitat, and decide if it's worthwhile. If it is, use it. As the late great Bruce Lee used to say, absorb what is useful, discard that, or absorb what is useful, discard that which is useless or not useful, add what is uniquely your own. So my goal here is not to make you a face reader like me, although I can profile a face in 90 seconds, and my students can too. They can literally go from a hairline to chin line in 90 seconds and come away with the ability to know that person better than people who've known them 20 years, right? And we've tested this over and over again on people we don't know that other people in the room do. So that's the goal between what we're training. But again, you start with the big pieces first. Big pieces are easy to see. Right side, left side, upper zone, middle zone, lower zone. You can see them from across the room. They're easy to spot. You don't have to be interacting with the person to take that snapshot. It creates the frame that you're going to fill in the details for as you interact more intimately with them. Does that make sense? All right. So now, when we look at facial markings, we look at the right side versus left side. What are some things that we want to focus on? A, look at their eyes. Is one eye bigger? Is one eye held more open or closed? Is it disproportionate? Is one eye higher or lower? I've had people with that, right? Look at the corners of the mouth. Look at the cheekbones. Are the cheek markings? The cheek markings are extremely, extremely important. And you're going to find out why in just a minute, right? Do they have more lines on one side of their face versus the other side? This is going to tell you where they're harboring and repressing more emotional stuff, emotions, traumas, things of that nature. Some people on their public face have not experienced a high degree of bad stuff, or they're very dissociated. Okay. But you look at the left side of their face and there's like park marks and wrinkles and things everywhere. Right. And that tells you that their private life is pretty turbulent. Would chubby cheeks be a barrier? Absolutely not, Jimmy, because chubby cheeks means something too. Here's the thing you need to understand. Everything means something. There's nothing that hasn't. Now, I may not know the meaning. I'll be upfront. Like I said, I'm still, as much as I know about face reading and as much as I teach it and explore it and study with my primary teacher, Lillian, and other great instructors on face reading, I'm constantly learning new things, right? There's over 100 different teachings on various mold positions. I haven't even started those yet. I mean, I know what some of them are, but it just hasn't been my focus, because this training that I'm sharing with you is all about personality, temperament, emotion, and ultimately the health. Okay. So Ricardo's asking, what does it mean if one eye is higher than the other? For example, private than high. As a rule, higher eyes tend to be more beneficial. One of the things that people look for in terms, again, when we talk about Chinese face reading, you got to remember there's the medical side, there's the psychology side, which is what we're kind of focusing in on. And then there's the woo-woo side, like the fortune telling, future, predicting your future, fortune telling side of things. So one of the things that happens is we look at the level of the eye and the level of the ear, and specifically it's the level of the eyebrow. If the ear is actually above the eyebrow by any significant means, what it generally indicates is somebody who's going to become very, very well known very early in life. So when you have an eye that's higher, it tends to be a little bit more beneficial or benevolent, more lucky than a lower eye. That doesn't mean that's always true, and it can be very contextual. So those are distinctions that are not going to be immediately useful. But one of the things that will be immediately useful when you look at right side versus left side is which eye is bigger. And when I say bigger, it can be bigger in one of several ways. It can be a small eye or a medium-sized eye that's held very wide open, or it can be a big eye, right? And then it could be a big eye that's held closed. How they hold that eye will tell you a lot about their openness to sharing and giving information, to taking in information. And for those of you who are hypnotists, it can actually be an indicator of a degree of suggestibility and degree of secretiveness. Right. So as a rule, someone with a very wide open eye, they give information very readily. They take in information very readily. They tend to be a little bit more suggestible. They have a lot of shen, or spirit, as the Chinese would say. People who hold their eye closed, who have the lids that are, they're very secretive. They don't let they analyze everything that comes in, and they think about what they say over and over and over again, so that they say only the right thing going out. So when you see a difference in the size of the eye relative to one another, you can tell in a very, very quick way how open somebody is emotionally, cognitively, physically, or how closed off and secretive they are. right? Is that useful? I have a workshop where I spend an entire day on nothing but eyes. So for those of you who are worried about reading people with a mask on, first class is nothing, everything above the mask. So it's all up here. So the masks don't matter, right? Okay. So when we start to look at what comes next, now we want to look at emotional health. What emotions do they do most often? Which ones are they refusing to process? Which emotions are stuck? And once again, as you can probably intuit, the depth and length of the markings on one side can be dramatically different from the depth and length of markings on the other side. Shafari and Starfall says, you nailed it for me personally. Wow. Right? 2,500 years of Chinese observational science, guys. Right? The Chinese weren't stupid. The Asian, again, not just the Chinese, but everything I do chases back to China. This is true in Korea. This is true in Malaysia. If you've seen Crazy Rich Asians, right? It's in Malaysia, right? In Japan. Renee says, wow, nailed me down perfectly. Yeah. There's logic versus emotion. It's all shown. Everything you do with your cognition is measured in the face. Okay. So again, this is not like Western phrenology or face reading. This is very, very different. My mic is bumping because I apologize because my tray slid a little forward and it. Thank you for telling me that because that can be really annoying. So we having fun so far? We learned some cool stuff. Would you like to go deeper? Cool. All right. So here's where we go next. Okay. Again, if you're not happy, there's a door, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this framework that we've created and we're going to drill down into emotions. Where do emotions mark us on the face? How do we interpret that and create a profile of a person's emotional health, right? And we'll extrapolate on that. So there's about 20 some traits that we're going to cover. What's going to happen is I'm going to start with the top of the face. We're going to go clockwise around. About 5 or 6 traits in, it's going to be time for us to talk about training opportunities that I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the webinar. So with your permission, I'd like to go as far into the emotions of the face as we can. And then I will break off. I will show you the program we've put together for you. And then when I'm done with that, we'll circle back, we'll pick up and we'll finish the emotions of the face. And then we'll drill down onto things like trauma. And I think a lot of people were asking about trauma and things of that nature. Does that sound like a plan? If you're okay with that, if you're ready to do that and follow instructions, go ahead and type "I'm ready" in the chat. Cool. Let's face it. I like that. Cool. Excellent. All right. So let's go to stage 3 now. And this was, to me, pardon my my vest is a little, oh, it's because of this. Never mind. I hate being asymmetrical. That's one of the things that's kind of one of my pet peeves. The next chart that we're going to explore is the one that to me was pure platinum. And I don't mean that in a strip club kind of way. I mean, when I saw this, it was like the holy grail. And for those of you who are who see clients, coaches, therapists, things of that nature, you deal with trauma, even physical health. This is the mother lode, okay? But keep in mind that once again, it takes on even more significance when you look at it in terms of the decision-making processes, as well as public versus private. Okay, but you can master it on its own, and it's really, really powerful. And this is the emotional map of the face. So let's jump in. I absolutely love this map. So what you see here is what I would consider the lifetime of the lifetime of micro expressions. So we're going to start again. This is the 12 o'clock position. We're going to kind of orbit around this direction. Okay. So the first line I want you to look at when you look at a face, after you've after you've looked at their public zone or their upper zone and their middle zones, after you've established public versus private. So now you have the framework of a profile. Now you want to look at, you want to take an emotion, what I call an emotional inventory. Okay. And this can be done in very, very quickly. I start again at the 12 o'clock position and then I circle around. So the first line I want you to look at is called skepticism. Hold on a second. Let me change my color here. Skepticism can be seen as a line that starts roughly the midline above the eyebrow and it travels towards the corner of the eye or towards the temple. Now, one of the things that I want you to really embrace when you start communicating these traits, I want you to do it in a certain way. I want you to avoid using the label. Instead, describe the behavior. So if I looked at somebody and I said, "Oh, you're a skeptic," well, they may or may not embrace that, right? Because people, especially people who have an allergy to being labeled or pigeonholed, even if they are very skeptical, they're going to become reactant on you. And you want to be able to present this information to people in a way that they'll accept what you say. So while I'm on this subject, let me just jump out really quick. When you read people's faces, several things happen. A, they become extremely sensitive. In fact, for those of you who are in the hypnosis or NLP world, you may have heard the term abreaction. They can become extremely abreactive very, very quickly. Okay. This is one of those times where having an intimate knowledge of a person's emotional architecture and internal world can be misused. Okay. So when you are reading faces, you will have their undivided attention. You will have them hanging on your every word, but they're also going to be looking for anything that doesn't match. And because they're kind of in that prove it mode, they can have a reactant response to the label. But one of the things you'll notice is as you start describing the behavior, it'll click for them and you'll see their faces start to change. Don't believe me. First time I heard this, I was the first to call bullshit. Okay. Lillian said, yeah, when you unpack a feature and you help them resolve it, that marking goes away. And I was like, bullshit. Right. And then I went to a face reading class. And one of the last things we do at the class is she brings people in off the street and we do a reading and they take a before and after picture. They take a picture before we do the reading. They take a picture after, and after the person has their reading and they go home, we put the pictures up on the screen and their faces are different. Noses get longer, cheeks fill out, hairlines change. It's weird. But as these markings and the psycho-emotional influences connected to them change, their faces change. Whether the Barnum effect takes control or not, the facial architecture changes spontaneously. So some phenomena is happening, right? So when we do this, you can describe the trait, almost always going to create reactance, even if you're right, but you will see the eyes start to kind of get watery a little bit. So be very compassionate and generate a lot of rapport when you do this. So when I see someone with a strong skepticism line, one of the things I'll often make a joke is, you don't believe shit people tell you, do you? And they'll usually laugh, right? And I'll say, there's a line that you have a beautiful marking right above here that says you have a really deep, very well-developed sense of skepticism. You don't take things at face value. You don't tend to, you want to see when people make a claim, you actually kind of want to see proof that what they're saying is actually true, right? And that tends to, people say, well, yeah, that's true, right? Okay. People are asking, even when they apply cream to cover anti-wrinkles, there's still some markings present, right? Now, if they have Botox, we'll talk about that kind of stuff later. For everything I give you, there's going to be exceptions to the rule. But right now, we can't focus on exceptions. We have to focus on the patterns, not the exceptions to the patterns, okay? And almost always, as you extrapolate on the patterns, you'll find how they fit later on. So this movement here, is going to be, I see this in a lot of lawyers, by the way. Okay. Let's see here. The next line we're going to look at, and these are some of the ones I really want you to pay attention to, are the lines in and around the eyes. If we look at the outer corner of the eye, this area here and this area here are some of the most important. Now, you got to understand something, that I'm showing you, think of the face like layers to an onion skin, okay? Like, for example, just really quick, when someone who's focused on emotional health looks at your face, this is what we see. But when we're looking at like the, how to use the face to judge your health, this is what we see, right? All of these have connections to your internal organs as well, okay? But we're not focusing on that. These are energetic correlates, okay? But we're focusing on emotions, so this is where we go. So when we look at the outer corner of the eye, this is called the outer canthus. Lines that start at the outer canthus and travel up, but terminate before the eyebrow are known as joy lines. Now, the Chinese have a different way of talking about joy. Their joy is more along the lines of contentment. If you look at a Chinese medical book, they'll say that joy negatively affects the heart. The Chinese, what the Chinese are talking about when they talk about joy affecting the heart is they're talking about pathological joy or excessive joy, which is almost always some form of mania or overexcitement. If you've ever read or stories about people who win the lottery, get so excited they die of a heart attack, that's what we're talking about. So we'll get to this one when we come back from our break. But when we see somebody with really nice, well-developed lines that start from the outer canthus and travel up, this person's had a lot of joy in their life. We call them crow's feet, okay? But sometimes you'll see markings that start at the outer canthus and they travel down the face, kind of like this. And this is what I call the 3 degrees of loss. Here's what I mean. The short lines indicate sadness. This is somebody who's gone through some short-term sadness. Jimmy's saying, can this be made bigger? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Can this be made bigger? These are usually short-term. If they're very deep, they've been around for a long time. If you see lines that extend further down, now you're looking at a deeper reservoir. We call this sorrow. These are usually hurts that haven't been fully processed, losses that haven't been fully processed, and they've gone to, can I zoom in more? Hold on a second. Is that better? Cool, all right. So I call, again, 3 degrees of loss. Sadness is usually short-term. If they mark with these, what it generally means is they've had a lot of sadnesses, they had a lot of loss. If the line goes down longer and is deeper, we're now looking at sorrow. These are griefs, or these are losses that haven't been fully processed, okay? And then finally, if the line extends all the way down the face to just around the jawline, you're looking at grief. These are people who have taken all of the sorrows and sadnesses and losses and have locked them down and have refused to move past them. They've kind of locked them somewhere in the body. You will often see these lines on people with lung issues. And the reason for that is very easy to see if we go back to our original map. And it looks like this. This white area is related to the metal element or the lungs. And so many times when you see markings that travel through this area, these people will almost always be exhibiting some form of lung issue, an asthma, an allergy, COPD, emphysema. And what's interesting for those of you who are hypnotherapists and deal with these kinds of things, when you start to unpack the emotions behind the emphysema, the asthma, the COPD, you almost always uncover one of these. fact, they'll often start coughing and choking and sobbing. And sadness has a very distinct breathing pattern when they're clearing it. So be very, very aware that it is cyclical this way, okay? Like I said before, for 15 years, I treated physiological illness rooted in repressed emotion. I saw these kinds of things on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's another kind of loss that people deal with that is a little bit misunderstood at first. It starts at the inner canthus and works its way down, once again, through the lung area. This is called lost loves. Now, let me explain this a little bit. The Chinese have a concept called Ming, which means destiny or golden path. And the Taoists believe that every human being on the planet is born into this world with a mission to fulfill, to raise the consciousness and to evolve themselves personally and spiritually. And the way that you figure out what your path, what your Ming in this life is, are by the things that cause your body to become so joyful that more spirit enters your body. The Chinese believe that your Shen, or your spirit, is actually bigger than your physical body, and more of it wants to become as embodied as possible. So it comes into the body, it lodges in the heart, and then it radiates out like a prism, like a white light through a prism, to the individual organs. Now, whether you believe that or not, doesn't matter. The patterns are still here and they still work. But one of the things they figured out very, very quickly was that when you do things that are in harmony with your Ming, or your destiny, your body lights up. You feel more joyful. You feel like you're in the right place, doing the right thing for the right reasons. All is right with the world. And if you've ever seen somebody who's gone from like depressed to instantly joyful, you'll never notice that light that beams out of their eyes and from under their skin. If you've seen that, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay. What you're seeing in that moment is what we call shedding in. More spirit is entering the body and they become fulfilled, right? If you've seen people suddenly lose something that was very, very important to them, their eyes become very flat and dull and affectless. Their skin kinds to get sallow. You've seen what we call shedding out. In other words, the body has become a less happy place to be, and so the Shen doesn't want to be there. The spirit doesn't want to be there. Yes. Neil says, I see that when students get it. Absolutely. That moment of realization, right? What do they call it? Enlightenment. It's a physiological thing. More spirit has come into the body, an epiphany has happened, your face changes, okay? So you can go back and forth, round and round on this. But what happens a lot of times is we have something that feeds our spirit, that lights us up like a Christmas tree. And then for whatever reason, we have an accident, we move, the thing we love is no longer socially acceptable, and we have to stop doing it. When we lose things that are part of our Ming, part of our destiny, our reason d'être, or to use the French, our reason for being, you will mark with a line that starts at the inner canthus and travels down through that lung area. Okay? And so what happens is when you are on your journey to find, how many of you have ever said, I know I'm here to do something, I just wish I knew what it was? Have you ever had that? If you've ever had that question, or you've ever been asked that question, Chinese are talking about the golden path, Ming, or destiny. One of the ways that you figure out what your mission is by the things that light you up on the inside, the things that make your spirit come into your body. Okay? And what brings spirit into your body may completely remove spirit from somebody else's, right? It's very, very specific, very, very individual. But when people lose things that are part of their Ming, they will mark. So your job as a healer, as a therapist, as a coach, as a guide, or as a personal student of self-evolution, your job is to remove those blocks and reclaim those lost loves. And when you do, these lines will go away. Don't believe me. Just do it. How do you spell that Chinese word? M-I-N. You want Shen or Ming? S-H-E-N. Yes. Shen and Ming. Again, you don't need to know those words, but it helps to understand the concept and why it's important to the face, right? And so a lot of times when you get people who've been in a corporate job or been working in a job that they hate, you will see all kinds of lines They'll often have lung problems. They'll often be chain smokers. They'll often do all kinds of things that affect the lungs in some way. Maybe you get high or whatever. So one of the things that when your clients come in and you see these lines, you know this person's experienced some significant losses, right? Your job is to unpack them and help. Okay. For those who are interested in that, we actually have a class coming up, I think in November or December. I think we're doing a golden path. If you're interested, let Stephanie know and she'll tell you. So when we look at the first quadrant of the face, right? Skepticism, joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, lost love. Now, if we look at someone's face, and by the way, all of these traits, with the exception for the ones on the center line of the face, are symmetrical. You can have them on the left side, you can have them on the right side. But if we looked at somebody's face, right? If we looked at somebody's face and we noticed that the lines on their private side were deeper than the lines on their public side, what would that tell us? Type in the chat. What would that tell us? They've suffered more in their private life, or they're suffering more in their private life. It's deeper rooted. They keep their feelings in, right? They can keep a secret. Yeah. These are all good possibilities, right? Do you see now how with just a few basic understandings, we can start to create a profile of this person? They could be introverted. Yes, they could, Jimmy. I would look at something different to determine that, but could he be a social driver? Okay. They hide their emotions. They certainly don't express them, do they? Right? These people lock in their emotions in their private life. They don't show they don't show their true feeling, right? Now that could be for safety reasons. They grew up in an environment like me where it was very, very hostile, and showing their emotions was considered a sign of weakness. And so they've locked them in. It could be that there's so much shit going on in their life that they haven't had a chance to process it. They don't have an environment where it's safe to process it. But the one thing we do know is that in their private life, they're holding on to a lot more shit than in their public life. The face they show the world is different, right? Okay. Is that useful? Yes or yes? Okay. Now, here's a quick self-care thing. Every morning when you get up, go to the bathroom, wash your face, drink some water. First thing I want you to do is look in the mirror and measure the lines on your face. Chart from day to day how it changes, because you have a different face every day. You have a different face every day. Is this fun? Is this useful? Am I delivering on my promise to give you something you can use? Okay. You ready to go further? How do you make them go away? When we come back at the end of the webinar, I'll show you some ways to I'll give you actually some very powerful steps to help make them go away. Let's go. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take some time and show you a training program I've put together for you. If you like it, great. You'll have an opportunity to take your training to the next level and actually get the actionable transformational side of this thing, not just the reading side, but the ability to actually make changes in your life. And so without further ado, let me jump into that. When we come back, once again, we're going to pick up with the emotional map. We'll go through it and we'll continue to build on that foundation so you come away with even more cool stuff. Is that cool? All right. So without further ado, with your permission, I'd like to present to you how to understand yourself better, gain an unbeatable edge in life, and take your people reading skills and your life to the next level. I'd like to introduce you to our Face Reading for Fun and Profit, Secrets of People Reading and Personality Transformation home study course. This is a course based on my live events, based on my studies and research in behavior and Chinese medicine, and learn how to read faces and apply it to everyday life. It's designed to be learned at home, but it's got some amazingly cool benefits in it. Face Reading for Fun and Profit, Personality Transformation Home Study Course is all about helping you utilize the power of face reading and related disciplines to take your life to the next level. If you're finally ready to understand yourself better, to have the ability to read people instantly and predict and influence their behavior, if you'd like to help more people feel more confident socially, professionally, personally. Become more powerful in your ability to interact and help people, starting with yourself, and win the game of life. Become more charming, charismatic, and irresistible. By the way, that's a byproduct of learning this. The moment anybody around you finds out you know how to read faces, you become the most fascinating person in the room. If you combine that with the echo technique, they will not leave you alone. Don't believe me, just do it, right? Be very careful face reading your Uber driver. It's important to read the Uber driver's face before you get in, but be careful telling them what you see, because you may have the longest ride of your life because they may not let you out. Right? And that's a good thing, by the way. Okay, so here's what we put together. Now, everything that we're going to talk about is available for you to take advantage of until 11:59 p.m. tonight. So May 20th, 2021, 11:59 p.m., everything in this webinar goes away. But again, it's fully worth it at full price if you decide you really want to get it. Then you learn martial arts to get out. I actually use face reading in the martial arts that I teach. Okay, so for today only, we're going to share with you the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course. It's a $1,497 value, and it contains some of our most powerful, proven, real-world face reading skills and secrets of personal transformation we've been able to amass for you. So let me just kind of zero in on this. Maybe make this picture window a little bit bigger for you. Hold on a second. There we go. So this is going to teach you how to learn and quickly assess personality and temperament, how to identify and work with people's thinking and decision-making styles. We'll be combining this with some of our conversational hypnosis work as well. You'll be able to learn how to unlock and resolve people's emotional traumas, how to determine their management style, to discover their sexual and romantic compatibility. You're going to gain the ability to manage money and resources and understand how people do that. Some people have a knack for money. Other people struggle. We're going to show you the markings on the face that relate directly to a person's ability to accumulate wealth and how they manage it. We're going to teach you how to change the features of a face so that you can become more of the person you want to be instead of the person that reality and social pressures and familial pressures conspired to make you. You're going to learn in a nutshell how to connect with people more powerfully and understand yourself better than ever before. Not only that, you'll be able to take this information and actually use it to predict how people will think, feel, and behave in a given situation or circumstance. So if you're a headhunter, if you're a manager, if you have a spouse or a partner, and you want to know what they're most likely to do in certain situations, in certain contexts, this is a course you're absolutely going to want to take advantage of. If you'd like to become the most fascinating person in the room, and maybe even never be fooled again, because we're going to talk about lie detection in this course. This is one of the most powerful, easy to use programs ever. We will literally teach you to go from hairline to chin line and evaluate a person and get a massively accurate personality profile in as little as 90 seconds. It's a $1,497 value. And we're going to give this to you as part of today's webinar special offer. But we're not going to stop with just this. Like I said, when we design a program for people, we design a program that allows you to build to have a core foundation and then add on to those skills and round out your abilities to do that. Okay, Wilna says it's already the 21st of May here. Darn, I missed the opportunity. Well, you know what, Wilna? I think if you just reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663 and tell her you're on the webinar right now, I think she could probably help you out. Okay, let me give you that phone number really quick. It's 858-282-4663. For those of you who are ahead of us, oops, sorry, let me do that again. 858-282-4663. I keep missing my keys. For those of you on Zoom, it's 858-282-4663. If you have any questions about face reading, we have lots of certified and trained face readers on the chat tonight. Feel free to ask your questions. Okay. There's actually a way to chat to David. David says, I've actually definitely been hung in a past life. There's actually a way to actually see that. There's actually wrinkles on the face that let you, on the neck that let you know that that's true. So here's what else we've got for you. We're going to add these extra bonuses for you, for those of you who want to take your learning further. We're also going to give you our flagship hypnotherapy home study course program. It's called Identity by Design. Okay, it's a $1,497 value. And this is going to show you how to take the markings that you identify in face reading and unlock them, how to resolve them, okay, and hypnotize anyone, anytime, anywhere, for any reason. We'll teach you how to find, remove, and resolve blocks to your success and limiting beliefs, how to find and remove hidden negativity, stuff you didn't even know that you had. We're going to teach you how to clear up issues that just don't seem to go away. If you've ever gone to a therapist or a coach, they've worked on something and all of a sudden it reach, like if maybe you go in and it's a level 9, you get it down to a level 2, it just doesn't go any further. We're going to show you how to deal with that. Maybe you've gone to a therapist or a coach or a healer and they've completely got in the way. It's a 9, it goes down to a 0. 5 days later, it comes back. We're going to show you how to fix that once and for all. We're going to teach you how to change that crappy voice inside your head so that it builds you up instead of tears you down. If you're wondering what voice I'm talking about, it's the voice inside your head that just said what voice. Okay? We're going to teach you how to systematically resolve all the negative energy from your past so that when you look back on the past, you only remember it in ways that make your life better. On top of all that, we're going to teach you to install the traits, qualities, and characteristics of people who you admire, who you want to be more like, into your subconscious mind so that it becomes a template that you can build on and you can express those traits, qualities, talents, and attributes more fully in your everyday life. We're going to teach you instant and rapid inductions, conversational hypnosis, how to evaluate the suitability of a client to make sure that what you offer is a fit for what they got. Total value for that is if you combine the face reading for fun and profit course with the identity by design course, is a $2,994 value. But what exactly do we need to acquire these courses? There's a link that I'm going to give you in just a moment, Kelsey. All you got to do is click it and you can be one of the first to grab it. Just stay with us. I got more stuff for you, right? Here's what else we're going to give you, okay? A lot of you guys are into energy. A lot of you folks want to know more about vibrational healing and becoming more enlightened, more empowered, things of that nature. We're going to include on top of this what we call our vibrational healing energy secrets and remote influence home study course. This is going to teach you how to unlock the power of your mind to control your energy, build it, and use it in ways you never thought possible. We'll literally teach you how to manifest powerful energetic phenomena right on the spot. We'll teach you how to get rapport with the elements to make yourself heavier, lighter, warm up your body, close down your body. If you're familiar with any of Wim Hof stuff, he does a process known as Tamo, which is a rapport with the fire element. Okay, you learn about how that works, how you can develop it for yourself, and how to do that with other elements as well. We'll teach you how to clean and balance your chakras so you think and process energy and information cleanly and healthfully, so that the things that have been holding you back, the things that have been perpetuating your addictions or your negative habits, they start to go away. We'll teach you a system for boosting your intuitive and psychic abilities based on some very, very powerful esoteric traditions, as well as some modern cutting edge neuroscience that kind of go hand in glove with that. We'll teach you how to manifest anything you want in the shortest amount of time possible. In this course, I will teach you 2 of the most powerful engines of transformation I have ever discovered and how they integrate them into the Hermetic philosophies and principles that are the foundations of everything that we teach. We'll teach you how to protect yourself against manipulation and psychic attack. And psychic attacks are everywhere. They take many different forms. And so once you understand this full spectrum of psychic manipulation that can be applied to you, you're going to be far more able to defend yourself. Okay. And finally, if you're truly ready to tap into that potential you know is dormant inside of you, we're going to give you a step-by-step training program for that. This is the bonus that we're giving you for jumping on this today. And so you got the face reading for fun and profit home study course, which is an introduction to Chinese vibrational science. You've got the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Program, which will allow you to transform and rebuild your sense of identity and personal abilities from the inside out. And then finally, you've got the Vibrational Healing Energy Secrets and Remote Influence Home Study course. It's a $1,497 value, but we're going to give this to you absolutely free. Total combined value, if you were to buy these individually on the website, would be $4,491. You know what I think we're going to do? Stephanie, if you can go ahead and post a link, because people are kind of getting a little rabid here. Let's go ahead and give them the ability to do that. If you go to, I believe it's facereading.com or nlp.com/face. So just give us a moment. And by the way, we only got a few of these available, so please bear with us. Okay. We're also going to throw in our People Reading for Fun and Profit Body Language Secrets Home Study Course. Now, everything we've talked about in today's webinar, everything that's in the Face Reading for Fun and Profit class is all about from the neck up. People Reading for Fun and Profit is going to take you from the neck down. It's going to teach you about posture, ventral orientation, forward leads, backward leads, gestural hemispheric manipulations, eye movements. It's going to teach you about active profiling. It's going to allow you to flesh out everything that we've done with the facial work so that you have a full understanding of how to read people. Now, this is a life study, but again, what we've done here is we've made this a very simple, very easy, strategic course. It's going to allow you to read people's body language and expressions to understand the body language of attraction. There are 7 discrete phases that human beings go through when they go from stranger to intimacy. If you understand those 7 stages, you can instantly look at any 2 people anywhere in any circumstance and know instantly who's more interested and attracted to who's more invested in a relationship, how close these people are to hooking up. If you're interested in becoming more effective in dating, mating, and relating, this will allow you to speed read where you're at in that interaction so that you can know exactly what to do next. And one of the first courses that I ever created was called Secret Orgasm Tips. And in that course, there was a chapter I called how the hidden secret to making any seduction system or attraction system work for you. And it was all about a concept known as calibration. How to look at somebody and understand if what you're doing is moving you towards what you want or away from what you want. One of the most important pieces is the body language of attraction, to know if you're actually creating more desire and intimacy in your partner, or are you actually turning them off thinking you're doing it the right way. So this, by the way, has direct applications to networking, to negotiation, as well as dating, relating, and mating, okay? And this is a universal. You will see these 7 stages manifesting in pretty much every culture I've taught, or a country I've taught in. When I teach body language, I always try to start with the things that are universal to human beings, not to culture. And so that's where we start, okay? We're going to teach you how to detect lies and other deceptive behaviors. We'll teach you everything from baselines to clusters to the 15 most common types of deceptive behaviors, what they look like and how they manifest. We're going to teach you using your own body language, your own posture, your own breathing, your own power poses, how to project charm and confidence and charisma on command so that you can be more influential everywhere that you go. You'll learn, ladies, you'll learn how to understand men better. Men, you'll learn how to understand women better. You'll learn how to dress for success. What are the looks that give you more social status? What are the looks that demean your social status, right? And how to use that. We'll teach you to eliminate the behaviors that weaken your personal influence and add the behaviors that give you more charisma, stage presence, authenticity, and authority. And you can use that all to close more deals, get more dates, get people to trust you, believe in you, to follow your lead and obey your instructions. Okay, it's a powerful, powerful amplifier to everything that we've already discussed. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Total combined value so far is $5,488 if you could buy all of these courses on the website. Some of them you can't, some of them you can't. We're also going to throw in a special extra value. One of my most popular videos on YouTube is all about how to catch liars. It's called Lie to Me If You Dare. This is a crash course that I created a couple of years back, and it's going to teach you in a couple of short hours the key characteristics that people who are being intentionally deceptive emanate. Psychological tips and tricks for catching liars on contact. You'll learn how to understand and detect the key indicators of deception, the 15 unique tells that clue you in when people may be lying to you, how to look at everything the body is doing and understand it, and how to think like a lie detection expert. You see, one of the problems that human beings have is they have something called a truth bias. Professional lie detection experts know how to turn that off. They know how to go into detection mode squared, and I'll teach you how to do it too. You'll understand men better. You'll understand women better. You'll eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence. Once again, and you can absolutely use this to close more deals and get more dates. And finally, probably the most important piece, you'll have the ability to never be manipulated ever again. Okay, total value. This is a $97 value. We're going to give this again to you absolutely free. It's our way to round out your ability to read and understand humans at a whole different level. Total value is $5,585. But you know what? Let's review real quick. First and foremost, we're going to give you the Secrets of Face Reading home study course. It's a $1,497 value. Then we're going to throw in the Identity by Design hypnotherapy home study course. We're going to give this to you absolutely free, $1,497 value. It's yours for free. We're also going to include vibrational healing, energy healing, and remote influence. It's a $1,497 value. You're going to get it absolutely 100% free. We're going to throw in the People Reading for Fun and Profit 2-day intensive, valued at $997. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Okay. And finally, we're going to include the Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars crash course. This is a crash course in lie detection. Okay. There's lots of other things that you could learn that would round out your lie detection abilities. But if you need to start learning how to catch lies today so you can use it tomorrow, this is the course you want. We're going to throw that in absolutely free. You'll see instantly how it meshes with the face reading, with the People Reading for Fun and Profit. It'll all come together in a glorious gestalt of the ability to know and understand people. And it starts from easy to understand to the most complex. You'll have a step-by-step process for doing that. You'll be able to have the ability to walk through the drills, and you actually can call us up and ask us questions. Okay, so that's what we got for you. Total value, $5,585. But guess what? We're also going to tell you this. Don't believe us. Take this information, try it for 90 days. You have my 90-day unconditional money-back guarantee. If you are not 100% satisfied with the information, if it's not giving you the advantages that you're looking for, if you're not able to use it to make more money, to understand and close more deals, to attract more success, health, wealth, and happiness in your life, if you can't use this to get out of your own way and manifest the life of your dreams, if you're not feeling more confident, secure, and powerful, I'm going to give you your money back. Okay, if you're not winning in your social life, and you're not becoming more charismatic and irresistible, if you're not feeling less and less powerless, less and less helpless, if all those things don't start to evaporate from your life, I will refund your money. But give it a shot. Use it for 90 days. If you're not gaining more insight, more confidence, more understanding of the people around you, pick up the phone and let us know, and we'll give you a refund. Give us the opportunity to coach you over your sticking points. But once again, if it's not working for you, if it's not a fit for you, we don't want your money. Okay? We want you to be 100% satisfied. And Stephanie and Holly and Brandon, myself, we're all here because we want you to succeed. So give it the full 90 days. If you're happy, keep it, build on it, move forward. If you're not, pick up the phone, send us an email. We'll process your refund as soon as humanly possible. Is that fair or fair? Type it in the chat. You're very welcome, my friend. So here's all you got to do. For those of you who want to grab yours, all you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. And you can absolutely be one of the first 25 people to get this new program for yourself. Okay. How does this apply now that we see people on a screen? It applies directly to it, because as long as you can see their face, you can read their face. Okay. So now, if this wasn't enough, if I haven't sweetened the pot for you, by the way, if you're in Australia and you're a day ahead of us, you have 24 hours to, or actually not 24 hours, you have until 11:59 p.m. your time today. So I think you guys are on the 21st to take advantage of this. If you grab your course before May 20th, 2021, or for the Aussies down there, May 21st, 2021, we're also going to include these bonuses for you. You're also going to get these. First and foremost, we're going to give you a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. Let me explain to you what this is. Let me jump off this really quick so we can understand. It says total combined value is $6,170. One of the most powerful things and important things that you need to be successful with this is you need to surround yourself with people who are interested in the same things you are and want to practice the things you want to practice. Would that be useful? That's exactly what the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is. It is the longest running paid skill building mentoring program on the planet. The way it works is on the 3rd Saturday of every month, People log in from all over the world, from Australia, from UK, from Cyprus, from Canada, Northern California, Texas, everywhere, Israel. And I literally go around the room and I say, Seth, what do you want to learn? Stephanie, what do you want to learn? Esty, what do you want to learn? Happy Thoughts, what do you want to learn? Jeff, what do you want to learn? Sebastian, what do you want to learn? And I take what they want to learn and I write it all up on the board. And then I look at it and I look where they all kind of connect. I find the connecting threads and I develop a lesson plan right on the spot. And for the next 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on what we're doing, I drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. You will not get a certificate from the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. What you will get is your questions directly answered and the ability to practice the exact skills that you need to learn so you can take those skills out into the world and create the changes you want to change. The next month you come in, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you want to learn today? What do you want to learn today? I'm going to create the lesson plan right on the spot. We're going to drill you on those skills for the next 3 or 4 hours until you can do them in your sleep. If you really want to take your skills from the abstract, cognitive, all the way up to the practical, real world skills that you need to be surrounded by people who want to work on the same things you want to work on. So we've been teaching that class every month since 2010. You're going to get a 3-month trial. You get to try it out for 3 months. If you love it, stay. If you don't love it, you got 3 months of working with people who are cool, who like to do cool stuff. Now, here's the best part about that. We've videotaped every single one of those sessions since 2010, and we've archived them in 3 places. NLP Power website, part of it's on our platinum and our gold, platinum, and diamond level YouTube channel, and the other part of the archive is on our private Facebook group. As an archive member, you're going to be having access to every single one of those videos for a full 3 months. Videos that have never seen the light of day on YouTube, they've never been released as products. You're going to be able to binge watch all of that content, 10 years of it, hundreds, thousands of hours of stuff. Everything from energy healing to dating, attraction, face reading, how to write marketing copy, how to do regression, how to learn things faster. The full spectrum of hypnosis, energy, energetics, law of attraction, manifestation, and mind-body stuff. Everything we've done over the past, people wonder why I'm so good at so many different things. It's because on the 3rd Saturday of every month, I literally had to stand up in front of a room of strangers and look at all the different things they want, find a way to put them together to achieve the goals and the outcomes and transfer those skills to people. That is not a history that most people have. It's one I'd like to share with you. So I'm going to give you 3 months. Come in, roll up your sleeves, do the drills, get the skills. If you like it, stay. Binge watch those videos to your heart content. If you don't like it, you had 3 months of the most amazing meet and greets imaginable. So we're going to throw that in just to take your skills to the next level. Because remember, watching a video is good. Okay, it's good. Being interactive on a Zoom room is good. The next best thing, the best of the best, is being live. And if we can make that happen for you, we want to do that. Okay, and so that's what this particular bonus for you is really about. It's only for the people who are really serious about taking their skills to the next level. By the way, our next mastermind mentoring group is this Saturday. So if you're interested, when would now be a good time to click the links below, right? But we're not going to stop there. Okay, we're not going to stop there. We're also going to throw in a special pre-release version of our Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 2. This is a course that we only taught for the first time last year. And it builds on the foundations that we laid in our Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 1. It will cover the traits and the aspects of the face that we didn't get to in Level 1. It will take your knowledge even deeper and will completely round out and flesh out every single thing that you've learned. You'll also learn about how people relate to money, how people relate to family. We have a section on filtrums that people absolutely love that was not covered in any of the other face reading classes, and how that relates to parents and children and things like that. We'll talk about the palaces of the face, but it's all about understanding personality and temperament and how to take your understanding of those people and your ability to help them to a whole other level. We have not released this. This has never been released. It's not available on the website. You can only get it through this particular webinar offer. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to include this for you absolutely free. So if you could buy this on the website, which now you can't because these things aren't available. They're only available through this webinar offer. $7,676. But finally, remember I mentioned that we want you to come and be amongst us. We want you to share the live experience. And this is how you take your skills from access and initiation to ownership. For the first 25 people to register today, we have a very, very special offer. We are going to give you a special VIP super ticket to our Face Reading for Fun and Profit Masterclass. This is a deep dive into face reading level 1, face reading level 2, therapeutic interventions for fixing what you find, as well as some of the more precognitive or predictive aspects, prognosticative, I think is the word, how to look at the family palace, the real estate palace, the wealth palace. These are things that we wouldn't be directly related to personality, attitude, and temperament, but are absolutely related to different aspects of your life. We're going to teach you how to speed read people from the top of their head to the base of their chin in 90 seconds or less. Not only will you learn everything you need to know about how they deal with risk, how they handle money, how they handle physicality, what kind of sensuality they prefer. Are they compatible sexually and romantically? How do they deal with authority? Are they thinkers? Are they feelers? All that you'll learn, but you'll learn how to actually make the changes that you want the way that you want it. So again, if you really want the deep dive, if you want the biggest bang for your buck to make the most of the video programs that we've just talked about, we're going to give you the opportunity to come and attend our Face Reading for Fun and Profit Masterclass live in Las Vegas, July 26th to the 29th. If for some reason you can't make that class, then we will offer you a VIP super ticket good for any single live event in our 2020 or our 2021 or 2022 calendar. So we want you to come to Face Reading because that's what this webinar is about, but you can trade that ticket in for admission to any single live event in our 2021-2022 calendar. It's a $1,950 value, but we're going to add a little extra bonus. For those of you who come to the Face Reading Masterclass, we videotape all of our events. We are going to include, absolutely free of charge, the video, the raw video of that 4-day event. You'll be able to access it and watch it from the privacy of your own home after the class. It's a $1,497 value. So if you look at the 4-day certification combined with the video of the training itself, if you ever come away from video wishing, God, I want the video of my training, you got the opportunity. All you need to do is come to our live 4-day face reading event. It's a total value of $3,447. For those of you, because I know a lot of you are in Australia, for example, and you can't physically come to the 4-day masterclass, we will arrange for you to attend this event via Zoom or whatever other interface is more user-friendly. And you can also have a copy of the video absolutely free. We are not forgetting our brothers and sisters who are locked in the UK, locked in the EU, locked in Canada, locked in Australia, and can't make it. If you cannot physically be present, we will actually do a hybrid training. One of our most powerful online mentors is actually monitoring the chats. Her name is Holly Bigelow. She is probably the absolute best online instructor I have ever run across. She has helped hundreds of our students virtually become masters of this material, and you'll have that same opportunity. Just click the link. It's www.nlppower.com/face. We're going to give this to you absolutely free, because we want you at the live event. Now, our video trainings are good. Our virtual trainings are awesome, but there is still nothing that compares to being at a live event. Now, don't take my word for it. Ask the people in the class, in the chats right now who've been to our live events, who have our video programs, where things rank. Okay. So you'll become a certified face reader, able to instantly read people's personality, understand how they think, feel, and behave, measure their sexual and romantic compatibility, their current state of physical and emotional health, uncover and resolve forgotten traumas, their relationships with their parents and their siblings, know how they make decisions, and a whole lot more. Okay. Total value, $3,447. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. All you got to do to get yours. Total value, by the way, if you add it up now, is $11,123. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com I'm sorry, not Killer Influence, nlppower.com/face. So let's review really quick what we've got for you. Today only, you've got Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course valued at $1,497. You've got the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course. We're going to value it at $1,497. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Vibrational Healing, Energy Healing, and Remote Influence Home Study Course. We're going to give that, it's a $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the People Reading for Fun and Profit 2-day intensive, $997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to share with you the Lie to Me If You Dare How to Catch Liars Home Study Crash Course valued at $97. We're going to give it to you free. And then for those of you over the next 25 to register for this program today before I log off this webinar, okay? These fast action bonuses go away when I click the end meeting button. These go away. The rest of these will be available until 11:59 tonight. But if you want that live super ticket, if you want to spend 4 days with me learning some of the most powerful people reading and personal transformation and human influence skills on the planet, if you want to overcome blocks to your success, understand yourself better, resolve limiting beliefs, and make people like, love, and trust you, you're going to want to grab one of those 25 slots. Click that link and reserve your slot before everybody else takes it and you're left out in the cold. Okay. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group valued at $594, but that doesn't include our, that's not counting the value of the 10 years of archived video footage. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Face Reading Level 2 pre-release version, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And finally, we're going to give you that free VIP super ticket and a video copy of the training that you attend. We want you to attend the 4-day Face Reading Masterclass, but if you can't make it, you want to come to something else in our 2021 calendar, 2022 calendar, just let Stephanie know. She will be happily swap that out. It's a $3,447 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. A couple more things about our VIP Super Ticket program. When you get our VIP Super Ticket, you can use it for any single live event you want. Let's say you decide you want to come to a training and then something happens at the last minute. Suddenly you let Stephanie know you wanted to come to the training, but now you can't go. All you got to do is pick up the phone, let Stephanie know, we will move you to another training. Let's say you weren't going to come to a training and then all of a sudden your schedule opens at the last minute, the training is sold out, but you want to come. All you got to do is pick up the phone, send Stephanie an email. We will find a seat for you at that training, provided you qualify for it. Some of our classes have prerequisites, others do not. We'll let you know if you qualify right off the bat, right? This ticket is yours until you use it. So if it takes you 2 years to get to one of our live events, all you got to do when you want to come to an event, pick up the phone, let Stephanie know, we'll put you at the head of the line, okay? If the price point of the training, and it's good for any training that's 5 days or less, if the price point of the training is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and you have one of these live tickets and you qualify by having the prereqs, all you got to do is let Stephanie know, you come right to the head of the line. So this ticket is, once you have it, it's yours till you use it, right? If something comes up at the last minute, we'll change it. If you want to come at the last minute, we'll find a place for you. Price points no longer matter, and it does not expire. So if for no other reason than to take advantage of that VIP ticket, this is an amazing deal. But look at all the other things you're getting, right? Okay, this is good for the first 25 people only who register for this event or register for this particular webinar package. Total value, if you did the math, is $11,123. But we're not going to charge you that. We're not even going to charge you $6,167. Nope. We're not going to charge you $2,697. For every single thing we're talking about here, including that live event, you can get it today for just one low installment of just $997. And if you need a little extra help, we'll even break that up for you into 3 installments of just $397. All you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/face, and you can take advantage of that right now, right away. Please, please, please do it now, because this thing always sells out, and inevitably people are upset because rather than hanging out and trying, they tried to leave a message. If you call Stephanie, and her number is 282-4663. If you call Stephanie and you get the answering machine, which happens a lot on these webinars, leave your contact information. If you leave your contact information, you will qualify for this special. If you do not, we can't help you. Okay. So once again, 858-282-4663, or you can email her at stephanie@nlppower.com. Okay. You can use one installment of just $9.97, or you can break that up into 3 installments of just $3.97. Okay. So that's what we got. So here's how this is going to work. Take a moment, decide which one, which version of this that you want. Reach out, click the links below. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Actually, let's take a 7-minute break. When we come back, we're going to pick up with our face reading training where we left off, and we're going to build on it. So once again, the training continues. So take a moment, use the restroom if you gotta, and I'll see you at 6:07. Please congratulate Jimmy for joining us in Vegas and getting this awesome face reading package. We got about 4 minutes left on our break. So if you have any questions while you're signing up for, or while you're getting your packages handled or whatever, go ahead and type them in the chat. I will answer any other questions that you have. I'm happy to. Jimmy says he's in the, okay. So you'll be joining us virtually then. Actually, are you going to be, do you think you'll be able to travel by, Renee just got hers. Excellent. Welcome. Cool. Jay, do you think you'll be able to, Jimmy, you think you'll be able to travel to the U.S. by July, or do you think that's kind of unrealistic? Yeah. If you haven't gotten yours, there's only 25 of these slots left. Unrealistic. Okay. Well, that's all right. Holly is probably one of the best Zoom instructors I've ever seen. She knows this stuff inside and out. So you'll be working with me and Holly during your hybrid classes. And you still have to do all the reps. Esty says, I just signed up. Welcome, Esty. Are you going to be joining us in person, or are you going to be joining us virtually? It's going to be in Las Vegas. Kim says, I know Kim's going to be there. Kim was in before the webinar started. So yeah, she's going to be there. We're going to be live and on fire. Do people need to be in there? Oh, hold on a second. That question went by really quick. It's like a year's worth of PhD education. Absolutely. Because it's all practical. It's stuff you can use right away. You got to be honest. I'll be honest with you. If I couldn't put this stuff to work immediately, I wouldn't be teaching it. I don't have a lot of patience, so I don't waste my time on low percentage techniques. SDA just signed up. Holly is very patient. Where is it? It's in Las Vegas. What's negative or side effects of NLP? How can NLP be inclusive in applying techniques to theory to individuals with mental health, autism, and learning? Is there other effective techniques that can be used with NLP? Oh, tons. NLP is not the be all end all. In fact, one of the things that people need to understand about NLP is it's not a science. It was never designed to be a science. If anything, it was designed as a way to make inquiries. I'm happy to talk about this, even though it's not directly related. It is related to face reading. But NLP was designed as a methodology to figure out what works and create a teachable methodology that can be passed from one person to another. If you wanted to drill down what NLP actually is in a nutshell, it's that. And so because a lot of the people that were modeled for the initial studies of NLP were therapists, most of their things were therapeutically applied. But there's lots of things that work very synergistically with NLP or that NLP can enhance. And again, I'm happy to, this is a great question. I would really like to answer it at length. So go ahead and repost this in the chat section of the live video. I could even do a whole video conference on this because there's so much bullshit surrounding what NLP is and isn't. And it's by people who don't know shit or can't do it by and large. That's my unbiased opinion. So let's see here. Do people need to have to be in their one personal development journey to apply the content of what is shown? No, but most of us are, whether we're conscious of it or not. People can apply this on a purely pragmatic interpersonal level. They can do it on an intrapersonal level by applying it to their own internal world. There are so many places that this can be used. Okay. Well, by the way, Kim, the masks are officially off in Vegas. Kevin has a quick question on Money Magnet Masters. Is there anything in that course that I would not have learned from in-laws training I took? Yes. Yes, there actually is. There are good questions to ask in the mastermind group. Yes, definitely can be put to use right away. There is nothing here you can't learn, right? Yeah, I'm a no holds barred kind of guy. All right, let's get back to training, shall we? All right, so once again, really quick, we're going to jump out of this, but if you haven't already reserved your package, please go ahead and click that link, www.nlppower.com/face. You can get it all for one low installment of $997, or you can break it up into 3 easier payments of $397, and that will get you to our Vegas event. It will get you all of the materials we've discussed, and it gets you me. It gets you the ability to actually learn these skills on multiple levels in multiple forums simultaneously. And it's going to be, Vegas is going to be a party. I'm going to be there for 11 days. You get to be there for the first 4 if you're getting the webinar package. If you want to be there for the full 11 days, see Stephanie, she'll tell you how to upgrade. All right, let's go back to the face, shall we? All right, so getting back to can you guys see? Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right. Can you guys see the emotional map fairly well? Okay. So once again, the facial map can stand on its own, or you can use it in conjunction with the 3 zones, public versus private. All right. That's how we would actually, this is how, to me, this is how I would begin to create a profile. If I were looking at somebody, the first thing I would do is I would look at the relative sizes of the zones. So I would know their decision-making process. Using my emotional markings, I would go around the face and take an inventory of their public and private emotional health. Okay. Now we can also do this. We can also use this to pinpoint traumatic events. Okay. And there are different kinds of trauma lines that we can talk about. We can talk about emotion lines. We can talk about trauma lines, blockage lines, depletion lines. Again, lots of things, but again, you won't remember half of it. So let's just look at emotions. So we talked about skepticism, joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, and lost loves. These are the big 4. Okay. See, it's such a big area of the face. Now you can also impose, just real quick, if you impose a body, here's a head, here are the arms. Believe it or not, you can actually diagnose the health of the body. The spine is actually up the nose, right? Again, what level do you want to work at, right? The human being is a holographic information processing system. And it's like layers of an onion. There's different ways to read it. So next line I want to talk about is, actually, I'm going to skip my order a little bit. I'm going to do something a little unexpected. There's a set of lines right here. For those of you who are dealing with trauma or doing some form of therapy, you'll often see these lines as diagonal lines emanating down from the inner canthus, down the side of the nose. Now, my teacher, Lillian Bridges, calls these disempowerment lines. I personally don't like that name. And the reason is because I don't think it accurately describes what this line means. As we come full circle, we're going to end with this part of the face, and I usually end with this part of the face because they're very similar. But for those of you who want to these are some things you're going to see a lot. When you see lines in this area here, what you're seeing, I call them appeasement lines. And the reason I call them appeasement lines is because when you see lines there's almost always some degree of ongoing abuse in the person's life. Now, it could be childhood abuse, it could be domestic abuse, it could be bullying, it could be a work environment situation. But what this marking indicates is that at some point in this person's life, their boundaries were violated. And one of the things that we have to talk about when we start talking about trauma, all traumas, regardless of how they manifest, are a violation of a person's physical, mental, or emotional boundaries. Anything that consistently violates those boundaries creates some level of trauma within us. Now, in this particular marking, when you have these markings right down the side of the face, and I've seen markings that look like somebody took a little X-Acto knife or modeling knife and etched lines in the side of the face. What you're seeing is somebody who experienced a boundary violation. And what happened is they tried to stand their ground. They tried to hold their own and say, you can't do this. I'm not going to let you do this. What you're doing is wrong. And when they did, they were met with such overwhelming force, such overwhelming physical or emotional pushback to their trying to hold their ground that they flipped and went into an appeasement mode. Instead of trying to push back and say, no, this is not okay, I'm not going to let you do this. They said, okay, whatever you want, whatever makes it stop, whatever makes it go away, whatever you want. All right. So for those of you who are as young as me and remember a show called All in the Family, if you guys remember Edith Bunker, right? The character played by Gene Stapleton, that character was very much of an appeaser, right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody you meet who has these markings will be an Edith Bunker, but what it does show is that at some point in their life, if not currently, they experienced a boundary violation or an ongoing series of boundary violations where they didn't have the resources to push back, to defend themselves, to punish the interloper. And so they flipped the script and started trying to appease, putting up with it, tolerating it, doing anything they can to depotentiate the situation. Okay? So for you therapists, you coaches, psychotherapists, whatever, when you see these markings, especially if they're not making any facial expressions and they're just there, guaranteed, dollars to donuts, when you start to unpack their stuff, you're going to find a history of appeasement or abuse there. Okay? So the reason I brought that up is because it's right next to the lost love lines, right? So sometimes those go hand in hand. If you have a very controlling spouse or parent, many times what happens is the spouse or the parent sees something that they view that person loves to do as a threat to them. Very controlling, misogynistic husbands. One of the things that sociopaths and narcissists like to do when they get into a relationship with you is they cut you off from your support systems. They cut you off from anything that doesn't revolve around them. And because you love that person, or your sense of self has been eroded to the point where they are your world, you give up those things and you mark with lost love lines, and you want to make that person happy. And so you get these appeasement lines. Does that make sense? Type in the chat if you're with me on that. Okay. Has anybody experienced people with these markings and these behaviors? Does the line apply to children and animal? I make no apologies for ignorance. No. Well, actually, yes. One of the things that can happen is that there's this thing called generational trauma. And generational trauma, by the way, it's a relatively new thing to modern psychology. It's not new to hypnotists. And it's definitely not new to Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine says that when you have markings that are generational in origin, if you clear it, you clear that trauma 7 to 10, 12 generations back and 7 to 12 generations forward. Studies in neuroscience have shown us that in fruit flies, if you traumatize one generation, that genetic damage from the trauma is present 7 to 9 generations down the line, right? There's a book out there called It Didn't Start With You, which is all about generational trauma. This is a thing. So when you have children who have these lines at an early age, there's a good chance it didn't start with them. It came from the genetic lineage, but you can still fix it in that line by unpacking it using the identity by design techniques and the reframing techniques that we teach you. Okay, so yeah, Jay says last night, I'm surprised I don't have them, but I've done a lot of work on myself. Yes. How do you clear them? You first of all, you call attention to them, and then you talk about them, and you help the person reframe them. There's a lot of ways that you can clear them, Biana. That's why we included the Identity by Design program and the Vibrational Healing program in the package that we offered. Has all the techniques in it. There's other techniques that you'll be learning in Las Vegas that are conversational that you can use to unpack these things. One of the things that will happen when you start doing face reading for therapy, I call face reading Chinese vibrational psychotherapy. And the reason is because when you draw attention to a feature and you begin to unpack it from the face reader's perspective, there's an emotional alchemical process that you trigger in that person. And if you stay with them as they work through it, these markings will start to fade. All of the markings can fade. I've seen shit happen during a webinar, during a Zoom intervention that just looks like science fiction. Okay, but don't take my word for it. Get the videos, come to the event, experience these things firsthand for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Okay, prove it to yourself. Okay. Okay. Biana says I have those. Yeah, we can help you with that. We have that. Perfect. All right. So I wanted to, again, because it had such proximity to the lost love, and because of the way narcissistic and sociopathic partners tend to behave, you may often see those two markings together. Okay. You may also see a very flat affect in the eyes for people who have been traumatized to the point where they're no longer in their bodies. You see how it all comes together? You with me? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let me close this chat window. And let's go back to another really cool set of lines that I want to talk about. And these are actually one of the good lines. There's a set of lines that start from the corner of the nasal line, the ala nasi, and they extend down the face like this. These are really good lines to have. We call these, hold on a second. We call these purpose lines. And the Chinese say if you don't have purpose lines by the time you hit your late 40s, early 50s, you're doing something wrong. So these are lines that very often ladies get very self-conscious about. They're actually really good lines to have. It shows that you're doing your Ming. You're doing the things that you're supposed to do in this life that are part of your golden path. Now, little pop quiz, knowing what we know about public and private. Let's say I look at somebody's face, and on the right side of their face, I have these really, really well-defined purpose lines. What do we know about this person? What do we know about this person? Oh shit, he's asking us questions. Rule of negativity can go forward and backward in generations. Yes, absolutely. Strong public mask. Okay. If this line is really well developed, what did we say about lines that are deep and long? Exactly. This person, if this person has a nice deep purpose line here, this person is on their path in their public life. But let's say the line is like really small here. What does that tell us? Perfect, Biana. Yes. Means that this person's life might be what? Maybe they're a little bit unbalanced, right? Maybe they're doing the job that they were designed to do. Maybe the life they lead out in the open is really in alignment with who they came here to be. But their private life, because of the partner they chose or the family life or the culture they're in, it's not as fulfilling for them, right? And so from a Ming perspective, we need to balance this. We need to help this person to clear the things that are keeping them from achieving a much more fleshed out purpose line. JD says my left side is slightly deeper than my right. What does that tell you? It means the inverse, right? It means that your private life is actually more on track than your public life. Again, we want balance. And the more close we get to symmetrical, the better off we are, right? But these are things that we can extrapolate now, right? We can start to, and that's what this is. That's what real face reading is taking traits, combining them together and asking what would happen in this context? How would this person behave, or how would this person express themselves in a given context or situation, right? But you got to get the alphabet down. Oops, sorry. You got to get the alphabet first before you can start writing the books, right? So another line that I think is really cool that I like is a very positive trait is if you see a line in the center of that lip. Now I could do a whole book on just mouths and lips, but this indicates someone with a good sense of humor. They like jokes. They can tell a good joke. They appreciate jokes. Be very careful. This is not on the sheet, but I will give you this one for free. If you have someone who has a very, very short philtrum, this is someone who can't take a joke. Short philtrums equal people who don't take jokes very well. If they have a nice long philtrum, they have a lot of good things going for them, but if the philtrum is very short, be very careful when you make them the brunt of a joke or a tease. They're not going to take it well. But people with a nice deep line right here tend to have a really good sense of humor. Okay. Now, the next couple lines I want to share with you, I call this the terrible trio, right? If you look at these vertical lines, or not these diagonal lines right above the lips here, these are called over-nurturing lines. Okay. People with these markings have gone through or are going through a situation where they're giving and they're giving and they're giving and they're giving and they're not getting back. Now, many times, these people move through the world with a code. They grew up with a set of rules that they were taught, and they were taught to believe that everybody has the same rules, everybody should play by the same rules, right? And if you play by the rules, you will be rewarded. Okay. In this situation, what generally happens is this person finds themselves in a situation where they're giving and they're giving and they're giving and they're following the rules and they're doing what they're supposed to do, but the rewards never manifest. The people they give to, the people they nurture, don't give back in the same proportions that they believe the universe should be giving them. Does that make sense? So what happens is there's a cascade of subsequent emotions that can manifest. So the next three emotions, including this one that I'm talking about now, tend to be found together. Okay, especially if you're dealing with people who are prime candidates for cancer. And I'll elaborate on that. This is just my belief, my view. It is not reflected in any medical study or whatever. This is just what I've seen when I unpack these chronic and terminal illnesses. Okay, so take that for what it's worth. Okay, so when people experience the scenario I've just described, they'll start to develop these lines here. If this goes on for long enough, they'll be exposed to an increasing level of resentment, of course, and that leads to disappointment, which manifests as wrinkles that descend from the corner of the mouth. Now, this should not be confused with a downturned mouth. This is a wrinkle, not the mouth itself. Okay, so when a wrinkle extends from the corner of the mouth down, you're looking at somebody who has experienced a tremendous amount of disappointment in their life. Okay, tremendous amount of disappointment in their life. If the person continues to struggle with rules that nobody else is following, they're not getting rewarded. They're seeing other people getting rewarded for not following the rules. They start to become bitter. And bitterness manifests as a series of lines just below the lower lip. Okay. Now, these can all be independent of each other, but my experience has been that when these three manifest together, you have a recipe for cancer, especially terminal cancers. Cancer is often manifested as the escape clause from an intolerable situation. When we manifest, there was a study back in, I believe it was the 70s or the 80s, called the ACE study, which meant Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. And what they discovered was that the vast majority of people with chronic and terminal illness could trace the genesis, the origins of that illness, that physiological illness that they're going from, back to an early, less than positive childhood trauma or adverse event. When people are stuck in situations or circumstances where they see no way out, when they've tried everything, the people, and they feel helpless, the unconscious mind says, okay, there's no escape. If I die, it'll end. Boom. If I manifest a cancer, maybe somebody will change, right? The system will manifest based on the level of emotional toxicity that's accumulated in the body. It will manifest a physiological mass. And that mass could be, a tumor. It could be an abscess. It could be the degradation of the myelin sheaths around in the brain. But it will tend to there's no such thing as an emotionally healthy cancer patient. And in the vast majority of chronic illnesses that I've unpacked, Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, dementia, I haven't done as much Alzheimer's and dementia, a lot of Parkinson's and a lot of MS though, and cancer. You're going to find, I haven't done much with cystic fibrosis, Jimmy. I haven't had that many clients in for that. I have had emphysema clients, and I've also had other forms of COPD, intense allergies and asthmas. What's another one that was really, trying to remember? Cancers, a lot of cancers. Lupus. I had people with lupus, not ALS. It's escaping me now. It'll come back to me in a minute. We did lupus. We did muscular dystrophy. That's what it was. Muscular dystrophy. Every single one of these responded positively to our interventions, right? But when you see these on the face, now here's the thing. If you have these markings, it doesn't mean you're going to get cancer, right? It doesn't mean you're going to get cancer. It means you got stuff that needs clearing. You've got the accumulation of some toxicity in your system that needs to be unpacked and attacked, as I like to call it. And the face will tell you what you need to work on. Okay. And if you're a face reader, you have the tools to help people clear it. If you're a neurolinguistic programmer, you will have tools to help people clear it. If you're a certified hypnotist or vibrational healer, you'll have the tools to clear it, right? The one thing that does not seem to work is talk therapy, right? Mostly because they talk about the wrong things, okay? So that's just my opinion. If you're a talk therapist, I don't mean to offend you, but chances are you'll find that when talk therapists actually create a change, they're doing it through hypnosis, CBT, EMDR, or some other form of psychoenergetic intervention that involves trance. Okay, that's just been my observation. Okay, face reading and echo technique, absolutely powerful combination. In fact, it's one of the most, therapeutically speaking, it's one of the deadliest combinations to any kind of toxicity that you have. If you want to unpack and attack any of the markings I'm talking about, all you got to do is point to the trait, compliment it, tell them what it means, and echo whatever comes out of their mouth, and they will abreact in seconds. I think I think my record for an abreaction is like 3 seconds. I literally walked up to a lady in a seminar, looked at her ear, and said, "What happened when you were 5?" Boom. We spent the next 3 hours fixing the Godzilla that came out, right? You'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do that. Okay, these are the things you will have the ability to do as a byproduct of the package and coming to the face reading event and therapeutic interventions masterclass. So let's get back to our chart. Is this useful, by the way? Just type in the chat. Is this helpful or? Hold on a second. There's like 35 comments in the chat I'm not seeing. Okay, cool. All right. So excellent. All right. So let's go back to our chart. Hold on a second. I must be getting tired because my stroke eraser. There we go. Okay. So keep in mind, if you have these markings, you now have the ability to clean them up. It does not mean you're going to get cancer, but if it keeps going on and you don't do anything to change your life circumstances, your autonomic nervous system may manifest a way out, right? So I want you guys to live long and prosper, okay? So I call these the terrible trio, right? Another one that is a little bit challenging to see on the face is fear. Fear is manifested in the chin. Okay, there are 3 big water areas or water element areas in the body. You have the chin, you have the ears, and you have the forehead. okay? And they each manifest, they each indicate a different aspect of the water element. We talk about fear. Now, if you look at this diagram, it looks like fear manifests as these little wrinkles at the chin. My experience has been that that is not what it looks like, okay? When you look at fear on the chin, it looks more like dimples, like little pockets. So here's more what I see. So when you look at somebody who's not making a face and you see these little dimples on the chin, you're probably seeing someone who's repressed and locked in a lot of fear, okay? First thing I would do when I see this kind of marking on somebody's chin, the first thing I'm probably going to do is look at their ear, okay? And the reason for that is that the ear, amongst many things, shows us how people deal with fear and risks. No, it's not like freckles. It's more like little dimples or pockmarks. Okay, freckles are a different attribute. Okay, so if I look at someone and I see they have really, really small ears, I can extrapolate that this person does not like to take risks, and they've been spending a lot of time in environments and situations where they have to lock down and not show their fear, even though they're terrified many times. Okay. So again, this is what we call trait stacking. Most of you aren't ready for that yet. If you've been to face reading 1 and face reading 2, you already know how this works. But this is how you can extrapolate and create more in-depth profiles, and not like wide pores. Think more like acne scars, right? Or like little dimples or pock marks. Okay. If I didn't have my goatee, I could make it. If you take your face and watch my neck when I do this, okay, you probably won't be able to see a lot because of my goatee, but when people are fearful, you get this kind of emotion, right? So one of the things that if we were doing an active profiling class and I wanted to sense fear in the moment, the first thing I would look at is these neck muscles. Because one of the first things that happens when people go into fear mode, this is called the platissimus. This area flexes to protect the sensitive veins and arteries in the neck. That tightening up process causes dimples to form in the skin of the chin. Okay, so again, this is in the moment. This is a consequence of a lifetime of this. Okay, and it'll manifest in the chin. You can't see it because of my goatee, but that's kind of how that looks. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Okay. So again, if you're working with a client, for example, right? And maybe they come in, they have no fear at all. There's nothing showing here. And all of a sudden you ask them to go back to a scene, situation, or event that is related to why they're there. And all of a sudden you see this. I don't know if I can do that. That momentary flexing, you've tapped into fear. Okay. So you have active and passive aspects to this right now. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. All right. You guys are doing great. So let's look at what we've got so far. We've got skepticism. We've got joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, lost loves, disempowerment, purpose, humor, bitterness, over-nurturing, disappointment, fear. Right? One of the more interesting ones, and I say it's more interesting because I happen to have it, is this thing called auditory intuition. Auditory intuition almost always manifests as little wrinkles right in front of the ear. Let me show you this on a different So if I were looking at the ear, right, and a person's face, this is their nose, right? And they have a really big ear. The wrinkles we're looking at manifest as little lines right in front of the ear this way. Now, I mention these because when you see a marking like this, believe it or not, this is always the result of trauma. But this is really interesting to me. A, because I have it, and B, because of it's a perfect example of something that starts out as a way to survive, becoming something that becomes a very powerful tool later on. When you see these auditory intuition lines, what you're seeing is somebody who grew up in a very threatening or verbally challenging environment. In other words, this person was in an environment where they constantly had to be listening to what's behind the words, the tonality, the tempo, the word choice, things of that nature, because they were always in danger. There was always the possibility that if they said the wrong thing at the wrong time, they could get punished for it, right? My teacher Lillian used to talk about how when one of her husbands was coming, she could tell just by the way they slammed the door of the car what kind of mood he was in, right? So what happens with these people is they have these natural bullshit detectors, right? They can read when people are deceiving them. They can read when people are not being genuine. They can read when people are angry, even though the words coming out of their mouth say they're happy and they're feeling fine. They can hear below the surface. So we call that auditory intuition, but it starts as a form of auditory hypervigilance. And so people with this particular marking are always a little bit more hypervigilant about their environment. And they parlay this later on into careers oftentimes where they have to use it. Counselors, teachers, therapists, lawyers, mediators, negotiators, litigators, politicians, judges, right? This tends to serve them very, very well. But it doesn't start off as, this blessing. It starts off as a survival mechanism. Now, what's interesting is because of where this particular area manifests, it manifests on an energy pathway in the body we call the triple warmer meridian. Now, the triple warmer meridian is, Steve Albright says, I have those probably from the CIA dad. Yes, Lillian's dad was also a CIA spy. And I'll be working with a Black Ops specialist next September. For those of you coming to the 4-day tradecraft event, I'm co-teaching with Chase Hughes. We're going to go deep dive into all this behavioral espionage stuff. If you're interested in that, there's an early bird special going on right now that you can use. Well, you can't use your VIP ticket for it, but there is a half price special going on right now. If you want to get in, reach out to Stephanie. She'll give you all the information and the URL. I did a little video that explains it. I won't take up your time with it here, but if you're into all that spy stuff and you want to see me teaching this stuff, how do you spell the meridian line? There's 3 ways you can do it. If you're doing the Chinese, it's called Sanjiao, but you can just call it the triple warmer meridian. I'll put it in the chat. Hold on a second. You don't really need to know this. It's just like little fun factoids. Sanjiao or triple warmer. And the reason it's called the triple warmer is because it's the only energy meridian that goes to the head, the chest, and the internal organs of the lower center. The Chinese divided the body into 3 areas. But the triple warmer meridian is closely connected to 2 things: stress level in your body, fight or flight, as well as water metabolism. So what happens many, many times is, as a byproduct of this marking, these people tend to be hypervigilant, but they also tend to be have water metabolism issues. They tend towards dehydration much more easily than other people. And what happens, Jimmy says, every time David types something, it doesn't show. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That's weird. I bet somebody was trying to private message me and that's where it went. No, it went to all panelists. Okay. Triple warmer. Okay, I don't want to. Okay. So not only do these people tend to drink, they tend to have a tendency towards dehydration. So they drink a lot. But what happens, again, see if this resonates with you. If it doesn't, great. Hold on a second. Let me, people are asking for all panelists and attendees. There we go. There we go. So Sanjiao, sorry, JIAO, and triple warmer. Okay. Let me put it in the Zoom and in our YouTubers search as well. Triple warmer. So what happens, getting back to this, these people tend toward dehydration, so they tend to drink a lot. The problem with that is that many times they drink and they drink and they drink and they flush all of the electrolytes out of their body. So many times these people, when you have low electrolytes, these people will experience tachycardia, irregular heartbeats. They think they're panic attacks, when in actuality, it's electrolyte deficiency. So if you tend to have these markings, and you tend to be prone to sudden irregular heartbeats, tachycardia, things of that nature, one of the things you might want to try is supplementing with electrolyte tablets and seeing how rapidly those symptoms tend to go away. I know that I had these for years, and it was just by a fluke that I started taking electrolytes. All of a sudden, my anxiety attacks went away. Right? Renato's asking, Q-show knockouts can help reboot some stuck emotions in the organs. The knockouts, Renato, won't necessarily reboot them. They can make the organ more vulnerable, which is a problem. The Q-show resuscitation techniques, however, could help rebalance the organ, right? One of the things that happened, and Renato's asking about a martial arts application, which involves attacking acupuncture points related to the energy meridians that we're talking about. And depending on the health of the organ and that meridian system can be more sensitive or less sensitive. Generally speaking, if you have an energetic imbalance with the organ will either be non-responsive to an attack or it'll be hyper-responsive to an attack. So it'll exacerbate the problem. But if you go and you reboot the system using the Q-show revival techniques, that can actually help to rebalance the organ, at least in the short term. So hold on a second. We had some interesting comments in our YouTube. Okay. That was a good comment. So we'll let her show it. So Library Stowaway says, this is helping me understand my deeper psyche and I fucking love it. Well, good. I'm glad you're getting some value out of this. For those of you who are joining us late, we do have an opportunity for you to take your training to the next level. And the way we're doing that is we have a special program. It's called the Secrets of Face Reading and Personality Transformation Home Study Program. It includes our Face Reading for Fun and Profit home study course. It's a $1,497 value. It comes with some amazing free bonuses. The Identity by Design hypnotherapy home study course, valued at $1,497 value. We're going to give that away to you free. You're going to get the Vibrational Influence, our Vibrational Healing Road Influence and Energy Healing Made Easy home study course, valued at $1,497 value. By the way, for those of you who had Killer Influence or CPI, you qualify for the live event. We're doing that in the beginning of July. So if you're interested in coming out to the live vibrational healing, go ahead and reach out to Stephanie about that. We're also going to include the People Reading for Fun and Profit Body Language Secrets home study course, valued at $997. And the bonus Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch a Liar crash course, valued at $97. You're also going to, if you want the next 25 people to register before I log off the webinar, you're also going to get these bonuses. It's the NLP Powered Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group Trial. It's a 3-month membership along with access to the 10-year archive. You're going to get the Face Reading Level 2 pre-release home study course version valued at $1,497. You can't get it on the website. You can only get it on this webinar. And we're going to give you that free VIP ticket to our 4-day Face Reading Masterclass and Therapeutic Interventions live in Las Vegas, or you get your choice of any single live event in our 2021-2022 calendar, plus a video copy of that training to keep for yourself. Total combined value for that is $3,447. We're going to give that to you free. If you were to add all the value up of what you're getting, you'd have to pay $11,123 to get everything in this package. But for today only, if you sign up before the end of the webinar, you can get it all for one low installment of just $997. Or if you need a little extra help, we can break that up for you into 3 installments of just $397. All you need to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. I highly recommend you grab one of those few remaining slots. We have some very exciting new developments coming up in the next few weeks. Prices are going to go up. Accessibility to these programs is going to drop significantly because we're changing some things. So when would now be a good time to click that link and reserve your spot and get the training that you need? And remember, there's a 90-day unconditional money-back guarantee. If these courses don't deliver the value that we say after you apply them in the field, let us know. We'll give you all your money back. You can keep the courses as our way of saying thank you for putting your faith in us. Okay, just click that link, go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. And we're going to go ahead and jump back to our face, our emotional map really quickly and continue. All right, so blood pressure irregularities. That's the next one. That's another one that's hard to see. So I'm going to go to the ear map once again, just to show you this. So when we look at the ear now, so the first trait that we looked at was auditory hypervigilance, and that's wrinkles before the ear. But if you look at the ear lobe and you see little wrinkles here, okay, sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. When you see markings like this, what you're looking at is blood pressure irregularities. So now this doesn't mean they have high blood pressure. It means they have erratic blood pressure. Psychologically, these people have a tendency to overreact to shock or surprises. Now, what I mean by this is that if somebody, and I have them, by the way, so when you wonder why in my classes I spend so much time on state control, it's because I have these in abundance. And so anytime I receive an emotional surprise, what would normally be a 5, 6, or 7 for most people becomes like an 8 or 9 for me, okay? So what happens a lot of times when you see these markings, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to die. It means that sometimes your blood pressure spikes, sometimes it drops. It's erratic. If you're walking down the hall and someone jumps out at you and the average, normal, acceptable level of surprise or shock you experience would be a 5 or 6, you might spike up to a 7 or 8, right? So people with this marking tend to overreact to things. If you see this marking and a very fleshy upper lip, be careful. These people will not only have a high shock response, they will be drama queens and kings out the wazoo. We'll cover that more in face reading too. We cover the mouth and the lips. But if you see an extra fleshy piece here on the lip, this is someone who's going to blow things way out of proportion. Not only will they have a shock to their system, they'll express it and just go off on you. And I've seen it. And they'll be in denial, by the way. People with this fleshy piece on their lip are almost always in denial of their histrionic nature. So be very aware of that, okay? Is this useful? Are you guys having fun with this? Yes or yes? Cool. All right. So let's look at the next thing I want to talk about. which is when you see diagonal lines extending from the outer canthus, but moving towards the center line of the body. In other words, if you look at the outer canthus, especially on joy and sadness, right? Especially in joy or sadness, you notice how everything is moving from the outer canthus towards the lateral lines of the body. Even here, you have these, the tendency is for them to emerge from the center line outward. These are one of the, this and these are the only lines that tend to flow towards the center line, okay? And that's actually significant. We'll talk about that in Vegas. So when you see these lines emanating diagonal but parallel to the eye, you're seeing someone who's in some kind of physical or emotional pain. Physical or emotional pain. It's very easy to see when they're actually in pain. You'll see these lines manifest really, really quickly. But if you see them and they're not in any obvious physical or emotional distress, what you're seeing is repressed pain. They've experienced significant amounts of pain, but they've locked it down. They've dissociated from it, they've disidentified from it, but the trauma and the toxicity is still locked in the system. And so this can be a very, very important reservoir of information as a therapist that we want to attack. Now remember, as a therapist or a coach, you don't look, again, unless you're doing face reading as a therapeutic intervention, you don't look at someone's face and say, oh, I'm going to work on that today. That's not how it works. There's two ways that you can read faces. You can do the systematic approach, or you can do the intuitive approach, or you can do there's three actually, the supplemental approach. Most of us who are going to use face reading are going to use it as the supplemental approach. And what I mean by that is someone's going to come to us with a problem, and they're going to tell us about their problem, and they're going to flesh out their problem. We're going to do our intake just like we normally would. And then we're going to watch their face as they're talking about that problem. And notice what changes, right? Notice what becomes more prominent, what doesn't. Compare that with the face they had when they came in, right? And then don't be surprised if as you unpack the presenting problem, the thing they said they came to you for, if those other markings don't start to make themselves known, right? That's the most common way you're going to use this. Now, the face readers I know making a living charge anywhere between $500 and $700 for a reading. Okay, so you can make a really, really good side living or income revenue stream by doing pure face reading. If you're doing face reading as an intervention, then what's going to happen, you have two different ways that you can approach this. And they kind of intersect. The first is what I call the systematic approach. So we start at hairline, we work to jawline or chin line. We start with a profile of the face. We look at the ear. We look at the trauma history, and we pay attention. And we just systematically read the face and pay attention to what they respond to most strongly. That's the systematic approach. Then there's the intuitive approach, which is the original way I was taught. When you look at someone's face, you get rapport with them, you connect with them vibrationally, and then you pay attention to what feature of their face draws your attention first. And then you unpack that feature and follow that bunny trail wherever it leads you, right? So that's two ways that you can do this therapeutically outside of using it as a supplement to your therapeutic skills, okay? Again, I know there's a lot of people who do coaching on here, so I thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, going back to emotions. Okay, so when you see that, you've got some kind of physical or emotional pain, you want to resolve that. When you see lines that start at the outer canthus and begin to travel up, we had a president who recently in office who had these markings. You're looking at somebody who's going through some form of accelerated pathological joy, in other words, mania. These people will be up at 3 o'clock in the morning tweeting. They'll be histrionic by definition. They're always looking for attention. They can be hypersexual. So when you see these markings, even if they're calm and cool in the moment, at some point their switch is going to flip and they're going to go manic on you. Okay, they're going to go manic on you. So be very, very careful if you're cultivating a relationship with somebody with these lines. These people can be extraordinarily powerful people. They can be very, very creative. They have a tendency towards megalomania and narcissism. And they also tend to have very strong lows. When they're hyper, they're the life of the party. When that switch flips and they become depressive, it can be a real bad scene for anybody around them. Okay, so again, you have the positive expression and the not so positive expression. Now, this can just as easily manifest over here as this can manifest over here. These are bilateral traits, bilateral symptoms. Okay. Somebody in the Flowing Brook is asking, what about creating age lines? One of the things we've discovered is that the vast majority of age lines are actually emotional toxicity lines. One of the things that happens is if you start engaging in this face reading process and you start unpacking the wrinkles and features of the face, these wrinkles will start to go away. We have pictures of people who've been training with Lillian for 20 years. And at the beginning of their time with Lillian, there's these markings and wrinkles everywhere. 20 years later, she looks like she's 20 years younger. Okay, so one of the things that my wife and I first started to theorize many, many years ago that was verified through the face reading is we started to come to the conclusion that a lot of aging was actually the result of toxifying emotions building up in the body over time. And so we started to develop this idea that if we could clear those emotions and things of that nature, that the body would actually stay younger and healthier. Turns out, the face reading corroborated this theory that we had, that when you started to unpack the markings of the face and remove that emotional toxicity, the face gets younger, the body gets younger, everything gets better. Being serious, is this why Asian women look so young? It's part of it. Not all of it by any stretch of the imagination, but it can be a part of it for sure, right? So when you worry about age, if you're clearing your shit, the face gets younger. You know, I was watching a television show just the other day, this morning, in fact, and the people in the show were like 4 years younger than me. And they looked 10 years, 20 years older or 30 years older. And I think a lot of it is because of the kind of alchemical work. I think I have good genes. I think that's part of it. But I just hit level 55, 56 in April. I don't look that I don't look my age as far as most people are concerned. The only reason people even think I'm even beyond like my late 30s, early 40s is because of all the gray in my beard, which is something my wife wanted and people seem to like it, so I kept it. My point though is if you do this, you will get younger. If you engage in the alchemical side of this, you will start to dissolve and depotentiate the emotional toxicity in your body, and your face will get younger. But don't believe me. How many people here in the chats on YouTube and on Zoom are face readers? How many have seen faces change right in front of them from one moment to the next using face reading? Type it in the chat. Right? Don't believe me. This is fucking weird, guys, but it works. It's crazy, right? So when I talk about holographic memory theory, this theory is being corroborated from a lot of different areas. And we bring it all together at Planet David and show you how to make it work in a consistent, powerful, reproducible format, right? Right. So if you're interested in that, click the links for the class, for the program, and let's get you started. All right. Back to our facial map. One of the other lines I want to share with you, there's only like 3 or 4, and then we'll start taking other questions. This is another area that you really want to pay attention to when you look at somebody's face. Now, when people read faces, they do one of three things. They either focus exclusively on the eyes and on the eye area. Some people focus exclusively on the mouth. Other people vacillate between the mouth and the eyes. So they're bouncing back and forth. Okay. And our face reading system is designed based around eye tracking patterns rather than Chinese medicine, so it's easier to learn. One of the areas that you want to look at, especially if you're trying to figure out if this is somebody who you want to work in your organization, is this area right here. This area is called in Chinese medicine or Chinese face reading, Father's Blessing. Also known as the seat of the stamp. Okay. Now we won't go into, you know, when you come to face reading, we'll explain why that's called that. But behaviorally, what we want to understand is that when you look at this area, one of the first things that it's going to tell you is how people deal with authority. Okay. This area is all about getting your way in life, working with other people, and how you handle the chain of command. So when you see a line like this that has two side-by-side wrinkles, we see this a lot. This is somebody who tends to exhibit or experience a lot of irritation, annoyance, or impatience. I also see this in people who are intensely concentrating on something, usually because they're feeling a time crunch. So if you've ever seen people looking at something, they're like this, that's where that marking comes from. Okay, so when you see those double lines, you're looking at somebody who is prone to irritation, annoyance, or impatience. If you see three lines, so you see something that looks a little bit like this, right? Oops, let me make that cleaner. I'm such a symmetry bug, I can't stand when the lines don't line up. When you see three lines like this, what you're seeing is somebody who's learned how to control or manage their impatience or temper. So if you've got someone who's got a very prominent eyebrow ridge or eyebrow, these are people who tend to do anger and aggression really well. If you see that extra line, what it means is they know how to handle it. They can channel that energy in a positive way without it taking over. Okay. Another thing that you're going to see is what we call is a single line. Right down the center. Now this line can be very small or it can be very big. This particular marking is known as a suspended needle or suspended sword. And what this indicates is repressed anger and energy. So in some ways, it's very, very similar to the disempowerment markings down here. Now you remember when we talked about disempowerment, we said that at some point in this person's life, someone violated this person's boundaries. They tried to stand up for themselves and were beaten down, right? They tried to push back. They tried to stand their boundaries. They said, no, 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 I'm not going to let you do this. You can't do this to me. This is not okay. The person reared up, the violator reared up and beat them down to the point where in order to save themselves, they had to placate that person. Okay. They became an appeaser. When you see this single line, the energy is almost always directed at the dominant masculine figure in the family. In traditional Chinese households, that would have been the father. It could have been the grandfather. It can go either way. It can be directed at a father towards the son, a son towards the father. But what it indicates is at some point, a person got angry for whatever reason, justified or not. They got angry and they pushed back. They fought back with everything they had. And when they did, they caused so much damage, or the ramifications of that pushback, that fight, that release of energy caused them to be punished or penalized in some way that was so traumatic for them that they made a decision, a subconscious decision, that they were never going to express that level of energy or power ever again. They were never going to allow themselves to get that angry. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a good thing, but it's not. And here's why. This area, the Hulk, yeah, this area of the body is related to the wood element, the wood energy. The wood energy of your body is connected to your liver and your gallbladder. Okay, the emotions connected to the liver and the gallbladder are compassion, kindness, boldness, timidity, resentment. Okay, these are all associated with the wood element of the body. The wood element of the body is also the energy of achievement. In other words, when we go to make our way in the world, we go to start that business or climb the corporate ladder or achieve some kind of fame or notoriety or renown, it's because we're expressing the wood power, the wood energy of our body. The energy that fuels the anger and the energy that fuels achievement come from the same place. And so when you see a marking like this person has literally taken the vast reservoir of their energy, their ability to achieve in life, and gone, no more. This is as far as you go, you don't get any more. And so what will happen is that these people will be they'll be achievement oriented. They'll reach a certain level of achievement in life, in relationships, and they'll just stop. They won't ever go beyond that ceiling. I have one very close friend who has a massive marking here. He's had 26, somewhere between 21 and 26 separate careers. He's been amazingly successful in every single one of them. He's still broke. Why? Because he gets to a certain point, that block kicks in, and he doesn't deal with it. He doesn't fix it, and the universe finds a way to exit him from that opportunity. Right? I see this over and over and over again. So whether this is big or whether it's small, this is a person who has taken their energy and put an arbitrary block to success in themselves. So when you see this, you got to find a way to steer them to wanting to unpack it so you can attack it if you want them to move forward. Because at some point in their future, that line will manifest as an inability to achieve. Okay? So it's usually anger directed at the father figure or the dominant masculine or male aspect of the family. We have a lot of non-traditional families nowadays, so it could be a very strong mother, right? But traditionally that's masculine. As Sid says, why are you talking about me? Get out of my head. Tony says, how do you break the cycle? First of all, realize there's a cycle to break. Second of all, realize you probably need help to break that cycle, and then find somebody trained to help you do that. Now, the package that we're offering you on this particular webinar will help you do it on your own. It's probably better for you to reach out to one of us who are trained and guide you through that process. Okay? Pay no attention to the face behind my back. Okay? What do you advise on using for advertising? That's a really good question. I don't know that face reading would be useful directly in advertising. I think it would be far more useful. Pardon me for just a second. Would you please go out so I can teach? Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. They get lonely for daddy. I think the best places to use those are in one-on-one consultations. I think one of the things you can do is, if you understand what facial characteristics people find more trust facilitating, you can hire models and create creatives that have those attributes. You know, they've taken pictures, photoshopped the pupils and made them larger and increased conversions and sales by orders of magnitude. So there are a lot of facial characteristics that can be adapted for advertising and marketing. And again, I'm not going to pass judgment on those tactics one way or the other. You need to understand what your face is conveying and how you can modify your appearance to maximize your impact. Now, that may be getting plastic surgery, which I do not recommend most of the time. It may be how you change your hair color. When I'm on Zoom, I darken my eyebrows. I have very fair eyebrows, but your eyebrows are one of the most powerful communication tools that exist. And so I want you to be able to see them. And so I darken them, right? Simple things. There's a reason actors wear makeup, right? So again, you have to figure out what traits need modification and how far you're willing to go and what ramifications you're willing to live with to use them, right? You may discover, though, after presenting to a lot of people, that the vast majority of your best customers and clients have certain facial characteristics in common. And don't be surprised very often if some of those characteristics are the same ones you have, okay? That's one of the ways you gauge compatibility in Chinese medicine, is by how many facial features are similar. Generally speaking, the more similarity you have in facial features, the more compatible you'll tend to be long-term. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Let me go back to this. Questions about anything that we've covered so far? Go ahead and type your questions. It's Q&A time. Martha says, do you astral project? No, I don't astral project. I know how it's done. Let me clarify that. I know how it's done. I know how it's supposed to be done. I have protocols for doing astral projection. It is not part of my current skill set, so I don't teach it. I don't teach anything that I don't have a very, very solid, consistent grasp on. The question is, what about wrinkles of the forehead? Wrinkles in the forehead tend to indicate life lessons that have been learned or that are in process. So if I have a line that goes all the way across, it tends to indicate a life lesson that I've finished. If I have a line that only goes partway across, I'm still working on it. Marine Gua says, an upside down smile. You mean downturned lips? Is that what you're asking? Please elaborate. If YouTubers, I'm listening to you too, so by all means, ask your questions. Okay, so when somebody has a downturned lip, let me read it to you really quick. It's actually in my notes. I could just ad lib it, but I want to be more precise. Maybe not. Maybe I will have to ad lib it. All right. People with a downturned mouth tend to be a little bit more on the pessimistic side. They tend to. It doesn't mean they're sad sacks. I should really kind of elaborate on that. When you have a downturned mouth, You tend to see the sad side of life. You tend to have a little bit more of a good Samaritan energy to you. What that means is, bad shit happens in life. All right. And you're very, very sensitive to people's stories. Like when somebody comes to you with a sob story about how life was unfair to them, how they lost their job, how they're homeless, you're going to be the kind of, if you have this downturned mouth, you're going to kind of be the one that reaches into their pocket and hands them 50, or gives them a place to stay, or gives them a ride somewhere. You tend to be much more sensitive to hard luck stories. Okay. So there is a tendency to be a little bit more on the pessimistic side, but not necessarily that you're a negative person. You're just very, very aware of the hardships that people go through. Dark eye circles. Dark eye circles, the area under the eye is related to the kidney area. And so if the area is very puffy, you generally have water metabolism issues, or unshed tears, as we like to call it. If the area is very dark, you'll tend to have adrenal fatigue. So you can have water metabolism. If it's dark, it's either some kind of stagnation or adrenal fatigue. If it's puffy, there's usually water metabolism issues or unshed tears. If you press on your nose really quickly here, you may feel a little indentation. This little indentation is what we call a human angel marking. People with this marking tend to be very compassionate, very spiritual people. They tend to have a sincere desire to help other human beings. So if you press here and you feel a little groove, chances are you're a human angel, and that means you tend to give your energy, the energy contained in your blood, actually, to help other people. So these people with this little groove, in addition to being very, very spiritual people who are aware that this is not all of them, they come from somewhere else, and this place ain't it, and they want to go back. So they're always a little on the sad side. These people also have a tendency to be spiritual warriors. They also have a tendency to be a little bit on the anemic side, because the vitality that they give is stored in their blood. And when they give, they tend to drain themselves a little bit. So these people have to spend a little bit more time taking care of number one, which is very hard for them. Okay. Steve Albright says, this is very powerful. 6 or 7 years ago, you read someone in the class and were correct as to the potential medical issues. Yeah, it's happened to me on several occasions. People with Down syndrome tend to have similar facial lines. Is there any comment or applications on facial lines that lines are born with rather than developing? Yes. I could talk about Down syndrome faces for a little while, but I won't. But things you're born with tend to be what we call Jing attributes. In other words, they're things you inherited from your bloodline. They're usually traits, qualities, and attributes that have been passed down through the lineal tree. And they can be good things or bad things. Jimmy J says, I don't want to be an angel anymore. You just need more red meat and iron in your blood. Okay. Let's go to some of our YouTubers and see what's over here. So I can't even pronounce that. All these markings are to be observed when the face is at rest, correct? Most often, yes. Every now and then when someone goes into a certain emotion, you may see markings emerge in other areas that aren't normally present. Obviously, that usually means they're repressed or very context specific. If you look into someone's eyes long enough, can you read each other's minds? Yes and no. Depends on how you're doing it. Christine, 2 lines that don't meet in the middle of the forehead. It's usually a lesson in process. RJ Gratitude says, can detoxification of the body like fasting affect facial lines? I would say indirectly, yes. Directly, no. I would go out on a limb and say fasting has to be combined with other forms of emotional detox for that to work. What do necklines mean? Necklines usually indicate a previous family member in your lineage or a past life where you were either hung or beheaded. Reggie Goodwin asks, what about lines right above your eyebrows? I'd have to see the lines. What do 5 vertical lines between the eyes mean? I'd have to see it, David. Bernardini says, anxiety is killing me. How do I reframe it? Or how would you go about it? Oh, I would start with the transformational trio and then unpack it. Jonathan says, I have that nose groovy thing. Yes, you do. Lottie says, I'm loving listening, sleepy at 3 a.m. Thanks, David. Always happy ideas and happy. I hope you don't mean twats. Wow, I have many fear dimples on my chin. Okay. What if there are no forehead lines by age 60? Are they not learning? No. In fact, it actually might mean you've actually cleared them. Not only did you learn the lesson, but you cleared any residual traumas connected to it. It's usually indicative of somebody who's done a lot of self-work, or they just haven't marked in those areas. Lena says, any significance to one eyebrow more arched and higher than the other, left or right? Yes, but I would definitely start by noticing public versus private. The higher the eyebrow from the eye itself actually has several meanings to it. I'm not going to unpack all of them here, but one of the things that can happen is what we call a coach's eyebrow. So the closer the eyebrow is to the eye itself, the more control a person tends to want to take over another individual. You usually see this in coaches, mentors, people who have a very flimsy boundaries with their proteges. There's other things that go with it, but that's probably the one that pops to mind most readily. What about low versus high ears? Low ears tend to signify people who become prominent or become famous in their fields later in life. People with higher ears tend to be people who become more prominent in their fields earlier in life. What about a droopy eyelid? It depends on how the eyelid is drooping. Droopy eyelids are usually indicative of some kind of criticism, either from a parent, male, and again, depending on what side is drooping on, depending how the eyelid is drooping, can determine whether it's self-criticism or external criticism. I had the marks on my forehead, but they are going away. Does that mean something? Yes, it means you are resolving and extracting the lessons from those life experiences. And as the emotions connected to those experiences are processed, the markings are going away for you. Okay. So once again, it's getting close to that time of day. So real quick, just to review, once again, for those of you who want to come out and learn this stuff in person with me, we've got the secrets of face reading. Oops, I'm sorry, my bad. Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course. Sorry, I managed to, there we go. So the Face Reading for Fun and Profit Home Study course is a $1,497 value. You're going to also get for free the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course. It's a $1,497 value. It will teach you, once you unpack the face, what you can do to fix it. Vibrational influence takes your training even farther, teaching you all the aspects of hermetics, distance and remote viewing, Reiki, pranic healing, Bangston, Qigong, hermetic healing as well. $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're also going to get the People Reading for Fun and Profit Body Language Secrets Home Study course, valued at $997. You're going to get the Lie to Me If You Dare How to Catch a Liar Instant Crash course, valued at $97. And for those of you who are among the first 25 to sign up before I log off the webinar, which I will be doing in just a few moments, you'll also get the following bonuses. You'll get a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring program that meets on the 3rd Saturday of every month, with 24-hour-a-day unlimited access for those full 3 months to our 10 years of video archive trainings. So you can binge watch that stuff to your heart's content. It's a $594 value, but it's really priceless because you get to actually roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills. You're also going to get a free early release of our Face Reading and for Fun and Profit Level 2 course, which builds on the speed profiling system you learn in Face Reading Level 1, fleshes it out, takes it even deeper for you. So you can actually get a really, really powerful holistic reading of a person within as little as 90 seconds, or take it as deep as you want and resolve their stuff in the shortest amount of time possible. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to include it absolutely free if you're one of the next 25 people to register for this Secrets of Human Influence Face Reading for Fun and Profit home study course. And of course, for those of you who are absolutely serious, who want the biggest bang for your buck, for having the ability to see all of those video courses that I've just mentioned through a completely new set of eyes, to own a skill set that will serve you anytime, anywhere, no matter where you go, and get all the hands-on training and meet amazingly cool people, we're going to include a free VIP super ticket to our 4-day Face Reading for Fun and Profit Masterclass in Therapeutic Interventions 4-day intensive, live in Las Vegas, Nevada, September 26th through the 29th at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. And we're also going to include, as a bonus, a video copy of that entire 4-day training for your records. Total value for that is $3,447. If for some reason you can't be there in person, you can attend it virtually. If you can't attend that, if you can attend a live training but don't want to come to the face reading, you can trade that in for a super ticket to any other single live event in our 2021-2022 calendar. All you got to do is let Stephanie know, and she'll register you for that class ASAP. You have that ticket until you use it. Price points don't matter, prerequisites do. And you can even gift it to somebody if you want to. Total value, combined value for this package is $11,123 if you tried to buy it on the website, which you can't because some of these things are simply not available for purchase on our website. They're only available through this webinar special offer. You can get all of it for one low installment of just $997. And if you need a little extra help, you can break it up into 3 easy payments of just $397. All you got to do to claim yours right now is go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. Limit 2 per customer, because we have had people try to hack our system, right? If for some reason you already own some of the courses listed in this bonus package and you want to substitute it, as long as the price points match, all you got to do is let Stephanie know, and we will customize your package for you. We will substitute any of these programs with something of equal or lesser value, so you get a package that has all new material just for you. All you got to do right now is go to www.nlppower.com, click the link right now to get yours before it goes away, because when I log off the webinar, these fast action bonuses and that amazing super ticket goes away. The rest of these bonuses are available until 11:59 p.m. tonight. So if you're watching this in Australia and you're a day ahead, it's 11:59 p.m. tonight, okay? If you have any questions, give Stephanie a call at 858-282-4663. That's 858-282-4663, or click the link, and get your package now, okay? All right. So let me go ahead and look at any other questions. Esty says, I've studied some of Steve Jones NLP. What's your thoughts on that? I'll be honest, Esty, I have never studied any of Steve Jones's work. I've met him a few times. We've talked, we've hung out, we've had beers, but I've never actually studied any of his stuff. So I don't have a comment one way or the other. I like Steve as a person. I don't really know much about his products. He's in Vegas. Yeah, I know. We've met a couple of times at HypnoThoughts. We know a lot of the same people. John says, thanks, David. This was a face reading class all by itself. Do I have a book out? I have manuals out that go with my courses. I don't have an actual physical book yet, but people have been after me, and I do have plans to write several. So the short answer is yes. Okay, well, again, here's what I've learned when it comes to people's training in NLP and hypnosis. And I'll be frank with you. Hold on a second. There's some questions in the YouTube chat that I think I need to answer. What if you have the tendencies or the traumatic experience but not the markings? Chances are it it was a one-off. In other words, you had an event, but you didn't have a series of events that were strong enough to mark you. Doesn't mean you don't have traumas. It means that you're not marking it. You're not showing it. Ashwin is asking, what are my thoughts on palm reading? I don't have any right now. I haven't studied palm reading. So going back to, people was asking about getting what you want from traders. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of time and a lot of years shoveling shit. And what I mean by that is, you read something on the internet or in a magazine and people promise you the world. They really do. And you have high hopes going in. One of my biggest disillusionments with the self-help community was that they sold the sizzle, not the steak, right? Or the promises they made, the material that they said would give that to you wasn't user-friendly enough. So I spent a lot of time collecting what I like to call my radioactive Lego collection. A lot of people make courses and they have like one or two like really solid gold pieces of information. They build an entire course around it because they don't think those one or two pieces is enough. And so when you get that course, you find those one or two pieces and you can't use anything else and you get kind of disillusioned. Well, I discovered that if I just went around and collected enough radioactive nuggets, eventually I could put them together in any order or sequence that I needed. That was my personal journey. But the other thing I discovered was everybody has something to teach you, positively or negatively, right? A lot of people, believe it or not, do not resonate with my teaching style. They don't resonate with my approach to things or, my less than perfect typing or grammar or whatever. But most of the people in our world are hungry for results, right? They're avid people who are results oriented. They want to be the best version of themselves they can be. So whether you, and I think NLP has the potential to change lives. It really does. It's changed my life. Unfortunately, the way a lot of it is taught, the way people have commoditized it, has made it less than useful for the vast majority of people. And so I learned a long time ago, especially because I have a strong direct marketing and internet marketing background. I decided that was one of the areas that I wanted to know about, I needed to know about. You don't own a customer on the internet, right? You're going to study my stuff. You're going to study Steve Jones stuff. You're going to study some of the more infamous people out there in the field. You're going to study Chase's stuff. You're going to study Bandler's stuff. Every one of them has something to teach you. There'll be things that you resonate with. There'll be things you won't. So I'm going to circle back to something that I tell all my students, regardless of when you find us, when you come in, if you come into Planet David at the age of 50 or 55, or you're a 22-year-old, this was when you were meant to be here. No experience that you've had, no training course you've ever done is wasted. You may not realize how it's going to help you yet, but it will. And one of the things people love about our trainings is that when they come in, all these other trainings that they've had, all of a sudden they make sense. They fit. And it's because of our approach. I don't waste time on low percentage technique. I only teach you the stuff you need to know so you can create a result. And you can always tell who's done the work by the kinds of questions that they ask and when they show up. So again, I don't know Steve. I know Steve personally. I have never studied any of his products. So take the value that you can. Understand that the value you get from that course now, after going through our programs and having a different set of eyes, may be completely different because you're a different person now, right? So absorb what is useful, discard that which is not, add what's uniquely your own. I don't want you to be a carbon copy of me. I want you to be the best version of yourself using the technologies that we teach you. I can only do that if you spend time with me and you use the things that we share. So if you want to take your life to the next level, if you think that there's value in what we're offering and what we're sharing with you, please click that link before I log off so I know that you're getting the help that you need in the way that you need it, because that's my job. Right? At the end of the day, I do well by doing good. And that good is making sure you come away with the things you can actually use. Okay? So lots of questions. Go ahead and click that link. Once again, for those of you in the chat, it's www.nlppower.com/face. www.nlppower.com/face. To quote one of my mentors, the more controversial Dr. David Singer, click the link, click the link, click the link. And in the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, everybody. We'll see you in Las Vegas. Click that link, and I will see you on the other side for some of the most fascinating things about taking your life to the next level that you can possibly imagine. I love you all.